And so people haven't didn't hear. Oh shit! I'm dying. Okay, if you're watching the VOD, the first thing you just heard was me coughing. I apologize for that. There's so much I can't do. But hey, we're live. Oh my god, I'm gonna cough again. Jeb, say something.
Niggers.
Why that? My
You asked Jeff to say something. Of course he's gonna say that.
but uh, I don't know if you
Oh, I just broke.
any of you watched the reaction that came out yesterday. But I had to cut out so many racist jokes from Jeb, including a time he said the N word. You can hear him start saying it, and I cut it in the middle. Um, yeah.
What was the racist jokes? I don't remember.
Um, you said how Chester is like charred by ultraviolet light or some shit. And that's why Allegra likes him.
Yeah, because he's black.
Indeed. Yeah. So I cut it out. I think it's fine saying here because it's not like if we ever get monetized on this channel, this video will get monetized because within the first like 30 seconds, Jeb already said the N word. So I think we're already like not in the best position. But
Well, we're already doomed.
yeah. Speaking of Doom, that's not a good segue, but who cares? Today we're gonna talk about Agents of Shield. But before we do that, I remember this time, so it's not gonna just be a one-off. We are here at our good old recommendation corner.
Oh
Yay,
no.
recommendation corner time. I know, right? Um, no, Shandy, you should not be here. We're gonna spoil the entire show. So yeah, fuck off. And then
No,
watch this
stay.
back when you finish the show. No, he just
Give us
finished season
views.
3. Surely you don't want him to be spoiled about the best two
Alright,
seasons of the
I'll
show.
allow it.
Yeah.
I'll allow it.
Anyway, Jeb, what is your recommendation on the recommendation corner today?
I've been watching fuck all.
What, have you been playing something? Have you been listening to music? It could literally be anything, Jeb.
You know what? Iron Maiden, why not? Because I've been at a music festival and stuff, I saw Iron Maiden live, and I got a lot to say about that. It was a very good performance. They're like late 60s, early 70s. Well, Nico, I think, is 74, and they perform like they're in their 30s. Like, you got Bruce running around the entire stage all the time, climbing up stuff. He starts fencing with a giant Eddie at one point, which is their mascot. There's a giant inflatable Spitfire, a lot of fire, a lot of fire. And he nails the vocals as if he's always been singing, and his enunciation is excellent. That's the hardest thing I think to do live, especially when you're at a huge field where you got to sing to 100,000 plus people, because that's how big the festival is. And in general, their music is really great. And they released an album last year called Senjutsu. They performed their 3 singles, I think. No, Senjutsu wasn't a single. They performed their 2 singles at Senjutsu, and they're going to play a full one. And it's a really good album. It's their best since Brave New World, which was 2000. So I'd recommend them because they're the only thing I've been getting up to.
Sounds good. I am thinking, oh, Bello's asking what your profile is, Jeb. Clearly it's Sonic.
It's
Very normal picture of
I
Sonic.
forgot.
Yeah.
I watched Everything Everywhere all at once.
Oh
I'll
yeah,
let
we
someone
did
else
that.
recommend that.
Well, you already did Iron Maiden, so fuck you.
Yeah.
Also, Jeb, is your VPN
No.
on? Then
I can
your internet is just a bit
use my
cringe.
data. Yeah, I use my data.
Alrighty. Yeah. So, my turn. I will talk about everything everywhere all at once, just because Jeb reminded me of it. I wasn't even thinking of that. But thank you, Jeb. Yeah. I have watched everything everywhere all at once 3 times now. I watched it once when it came out on VOD. I watched it once in theaters with Jeb and Neb. Because I was in London, for a while, for a week, and I met these fucks. They were quite cringe. And I watched it once with my parents last week, and man, is it good! It is. I genuinely, wholeheartedly, unironically believe it is the best film ever made. Um, and I think purely on a level of like how everything on the film works to make a cohesive, coherent whole that ties itself together so perfectly, um, while having a message that is simple and yet it explores it to like its full depth to a point where you don't feel like they wasted the concept of the multiverse. Basically this film is the anti-multiverse of madness. It does everything it should to utilize the multiverse to make a point and to explore its characters on a deep level, and genuinely think it's the best film ever made. So yeah, that's my recommendation on the recommendation corner.
I think after the recommendations, I'm going to speak about everything everywhere all at once as well for a bit,
Yeah,
because it's just
sounds.
that good.
I agree. 10. What do you recommend on the recommendation corner?
Well, I haven't been watching that much, but I have started watching Breaking Bad. I
That
started that
that's valid.
last week, was it? I think, yeah, last week. I finished it last week. No, wait, it was earlier this week. It was earlier this week. Finished that like by accident actually because I thought there was like another episode, and Zod said there's only 7. So I accidentally finished Breaking Bad season 1 in one night because I thought I was gonna do the finale the next day.
That's funny. Very 10.
Like, and like fucking fantastic start so far. Like basically as being one of the few people who hasn't watched it in the past like 10 years it's been out. I've basically exposed to it for like memes, like all the memes that have been out for it, and all the bits everyone knows. So like seeing like someone actually show up, it was a bit surreal because it was like, oh shit, it's actually real. It's not just a meme. And like I like how much of a slow burn it is because like everyone says how sort of high stakes for later seasons are, but like this being like a slow burn, like almost family drama at times is like it's a nice change of pace from shit I've watched in the past few months.
That's a good point.
And like especially since like it actually follows characters who are actually fun and like interesting to watch. Like most characters like in family dramas they're always like the same fucking character, just like spread out like 4 times, just at different ages. But like here it's like they're all different and interesting, and also the whole cancer storyline is like I always gravitate to sort of characters who know they're dying. Like I always love those type of stories. Like it's a very specific type of story, but I always love those types of stories.
That's interesting.
And yes, I will admit, through my non-exposure to the show, I did think Jesse was actually Walt's son.
Not everyone's perfect, and you even more so. But
No one can be as perfect as me, because not even I can be as perfect as myself.
that's profound. Um,
Yep.
all right.
Stick that on the visual poster.
Yeah, but yeah, no,
Yeah,
Breaking Bad's great. Season 1 is really good. I think it's very underrated, season 1, because people will talk about mostly the later seasons, but season 1 is a lot of great stuff.
yeah, definitely. So yeah, that's my recommendation.
Neato. Zod, what's your recommendation?
But the only thing I've been watching lately is, well, I've only been watching Breaking Bad lately, so you know that sort of fucks me out talking about that. What else have I been doing? Well, I guess I've been playing Resident Evil because the remake for 4 got announced. As I was like, yeah, all right, I'll replay the other ones. Fuck it, why not? Something to do. Yeah. The story is, well, it's what you can expect from a Resident Evil game. You're not getting high quality, let's face it. Gameplay, I'm not very good at talking about gameplay because it's not something I've put much thought into in general. But I'm trying to do that more. because it's interesting to think about and all that. And it's interesting because, well, obviously it's a horror game first, so like the first time you go through the game, you're going to be approaching it very slowly because you're not quite sure what's coming up. You know that you've got to be extremely careful with resources, so you definitely approach it more in terms of, well, as a horror game. But as you play through it more and more, you start to get to know the game a bit better, and the horror it starts to work on you less and less. And the game itself is aware of this. It's like it's like, how do I phrase it? So it's got its own reward system for playing the game multiple times. Like it encourages you to play again and again and like learn everything you can about the routes through the world and what items are where, which ones you need to pick up, which ones you should leave behind. It's all about playing for it as efficiently and quickly as possible in order to get the best times, which obviously leads to the best rewards. And it makes for quite a satisfying gameplay experience. And yeah, it's just something I appreciate. Plus, it's got a really neat atmosphere, like horror-wise. That doesn't make much sense, but yeah.
What?
It
That does
doesn't
make
make-
sense.
What does it? I don't.
I don't fucking know. I'm talking shit, isn't it? But
This is the most honest talk since he came out of the womb. He doesn't know how to do it properly.
The atmosphere being inconsistent doesn't make much sense.
Yeah, I'm confused.
I mean, yeah, I can all go with that.
It's okay. It's his first time. It's hard for him to speak.
Yeah, he'll learn.
This come from Tim.
Fuck.
I know I'm not much better.
But yeah.
You can say that.
All right. Is that it, Zod, or do you have anything else you want to talk about Resident Evil? What you? Isn't it?
Yeah, no, I'm good. That's pretty much everything covered.
Alrighty, then I want to mention thing asked in chat, which shows better, Better Call Saul, or Breaking Bad. Better Call Saul is easily better. Fight me, bitch. No, for real, it's better.
It is.
Yeah. Oh yeah, Zod, you're the only one who's seen it out of the people here because the other
Indeed.
two are cringe. But I think just like season 6 has 2 episodes that are so good, I would rival them with Ozymandias in terms of quality. And I don't even think those 2 episodes are the best episodes of Better Call Saul. I don't know if you would agree with me on that stance because Ozymandias is Ozymandias, but yeah. I think especially like Bagman, Bad Choice Road, JMM, Wexler v. McGill, Chicanery, all those episodes are like better than the best Breaking Bad ever gets. Because I feel like in terms of character exploration, Better Call Saul is just way deeper and more complex and does so in like a way less mainstream way. It's quite interesting. I really love Better Call Saul, and I would recommend anyone to watch it. And I've recently started rewatching it with the audio commentary from the writers and actors and everything like that. And I think it's quite interesting to gain a little insight. So whenever you do watch it, get the Blu-rays and watch with the commentary tracks, because listening to Vince Gilligan and Peter Gould explain their decisions in terms of the writing is really interesting. At least to me, I find it really insightful. So yes, that is what I have to say on that topic. And now, Jeb, you said you want to talk a little bit about Everything Everywhere All at Once. That sounds like quite a
Yes.
few things, to be fair. So I don't know if we're gonna have all the time, but we can try.
So 14.5 it was an explosion. It was called the Big Bang. No, but seriously. So we went, as Sky said, we went to London. We went to the cinema with reclining chairs because London's posh. Um, and we watched the film, and it's a very weird experience in a good way, in a very good way. A lot of films that I find a weird experience, they annoy me, but this had me in a way where I was like, I don't know what's happening, and I'm very glad about that because that's kind of the point. I'm not supposed to know what's happening in a world building sense. I'm just kind of caring about the characters and how they interact with one another. And all the way through, it was just pulls the rug out of under you in these unexpected ways, but they actually fit together perfectly. So it's like it's a bit of an oxymoron, really. It's like chaos being in order, if that makes sense. And what I really highlighted it after I watched, I was getting annoyed at how Waymond was being treated. He's the husband of Joy, and during the film, he's pretty shat on because he's seen as like he's holding Joy back. He
Yeah,
has little ambition.
he's a little bit of just like he doesn't care about reaching his full potential. He's not he's just a guy who wants to like have fun and shit like that. And what you said reminded me because Azad and I recently started watching season 2 of Atla. Of how Sokka is shat on in the show, or just like no reason. He's just constantly shat on. And Waymond, I do get the idea of like it feeling like that. There's a point to it though, which I think is what you were about to get to.
Yes. So he's constantly shat on to the point where he wants to divorce his wife. And even when the Alpha Verse version of Waymond disappears or later on dies, not our, but Joy's version is just kind of like tossed to the side. But then comes the scene where they're both
Not
successful,
Joy
but they're not.
Evelyn. Joy is the daughter.
Yeah, why do I keep saying Joy? Evelyn. Evelyn. There's a universe where Evelyn and Waymond are both successful, but they never got together. They never had a child. They never really found anyone. And they meet again at this event that Evelyn's singing at. And there was a crucial scene
Not
where
singing it. She's a movie star. It's a premiere of her film.
wasn't she singing at
No,
one
the
point?
singing was another universe where she
Oh,
was
okay.
working with her dad. Her dad was like her
Uh,
singing coach or whatever.
Okay, so the movie one, and um, she like snaps at him, and she goes to walk away. This version of Waymond snaps back, and it's like this huge montage of everything that Waymond has done to help Evelyn's life be better. And it's very mundane things. It's never like huge stakes in that. It's just doing his best to support her. And the music's building. You're seeing all these events. You're seeing all these moments of happiness. And that's when it kind of finally clicked why it kept doing that. And that's when Waymond becomes the best character in fiction for a brief period of time. And that payoff ends up being how Evelyn learns how to ultimately stop her daughter, stop the bagel with everything on it. Yes, there's a bagel with everything on it, and it's like a black hole, but for the entire multiverse. And I just found that perfect, and I find it's enough to do a video on. It's a very, very well written character interaction with narrative function to it, and
Yeah, the
I couldn't
entire
find
film, the Evelyn was like, there were points being made about Evelyn never reaching her full potential. She blamed Waymond for that. But then at the end, she her realizing the understanding of like, regardless of if your life being a mess or whatever, there's still ways to enjoy your life and to find beauty in these small stupid moments like Waymond, which is why I think the detail of having so many googly eyes everywhere in the fucking laundry shop is amazing because it just works so perfectly with showing like these little moments of Waymond just trying to cheer everyone up, just be like the silly person who can find happiness and like doing fucking laundry on his failing laundromat that they're about to be fucking kicked out of by the IRS. It's like it's really really good.
Film itself with the well-being and what's setting out, it says this Evelyn has nothing going for her, which is acted as a version of which she has everything going for her because she has Waymond. That's what strikes her out compared to every other universe. Is she has the best version of Waymond.
Yeah, it's basically the idea of
Mm.
like she has done so little with her life. She can connect to every universe. Which is something nobody else can do because of the clay pot which they mentioned in terms of the rules of like how connecting to other universes work. Um, and because of that, she like becomes super powerful. But then by the end, you realize like what makes her so great isn't her potential, her having all these skills, what she does with her life. Like even in the world where she was a movie star, she's like super controlled by her like whatever, I think it's like kung fu master. Like she can't
Yeah,
ever be distracted or something like that. It's like she's free to be whatever she wants, and that's just on like a character level, not to mention like what she realizes of the nothing matters scale, which I think is just fantastic on a thematic level.
and as a science nerd myself, I'm so glad they did. I don't think I've ever seen a film tackle the multiverse in such a way where they do it based on two variables. You have a statistical probability, which is the typical way a multiverse is formed on Schrodinger's wave,
Mm-hmm.
but they combine it with the way to access a power is to do a really abnormal event,
Yeah, to
and
slingshot. Yeah.
it's like yes, that's how you do it. You make it very difficult to do, and you mix it with a likelihood. You don't make it just a sandbox because it can't be just a sandbox.
Which Agents of Shield episode does Waymond appear in? That's a good question, Madvocate. But you shouldn't be here, Madvocate. We're gonna spoil all of Agents of Shield. I'm sorry for that. I've been watching Agents of Shield with Madvocate, where next episode is beginning of the end, which is when the Winter Soldier happens.
Oh,
So yeah.
like I know you're into it now, Madvocate, but once you get past this point, there's no turning back.
Yeah, it's gonna become so good. But
But,
yeah, sorry for interrupting.
but yeah, Everything Everywhere All at Once, a easy 10 out of 10
Mm-hmm.
film that is able to have absurd events keep within its rule set,
And it's also
like the
just
hot
like
dog universe.
one of the most hilarious fucking films I've seen.
The dog, like you
The
saw
dog,
me losing it, but the
I
dog.
knew you would lose it, and I was waiting because when I saw that moment, like, dude, Jeb is gonna, and you just started laughing so much. It was great. Yeah.
for for context, so in the Evelyn universe that we see, there's this woman on her phone. She's quite obnoxious. She has a small dog, like a chihuahua, a bit more fur. Um, in another universe, I think the Alpha Fur, she comes to try and stop Evelyn from doing what she needs to with Jabu
Jobu
thingy.
Tupaki.
That, yes. So she becomes a foil, and her weapon is her dog on a leash that she uses kind of like as a glorified nunchuck. And she's whipping it around. At one point, it gets trapped in a fridge, and then after Evelyn uses scissors on the leash, and it goes fucking flying, and it's gone for good.
Not scissors specifically, but yeah, she cuts
Yeah,
the leash and it gets thrown, and it's so hilarious. It's great. There's obviously the butt plug fight, which is just
yes.
that as a description that should already make you quite interested in what that could entail.
And then there's the hot dogs, fingers, and
Yeah, which
shit.
is like the thing I find amazing about the hot dog universe is how it is treated as like this absurd thing, but it becomes so emotional by the end once we not only learn more about Deirdre, but once Evelyn learns like what the value Waymond brings to her life is, of loving every loving like the small details of life, like every silly thing. And she says like even in a world where fucking hot dogs for our fingers, we'd get really good with our feet. It's like, yeah, not only does that make like evolutionary sense, on that kind of universe. But also, it's like that's just a really good point of like trying to see how in every possible universe there's always something you can find to love. It's beautiful. I love this film.
And I love the Rakanui
Rakakuni, yeah,
universe.
yeah.
Rakakuni.
It's amazing.
And
Ah,
again, for context, Ratatouille with the rat and the hair. It said it's a giant raccoon under a chef's hat,
yeah,
and Evelyn reveals that the raccoon's on the hat, but then has to try and retrieve it again.
yeah. It's amazing. It's like very few films I see like that actually make basically every joke land with me. I'm kind of picky with humor. Um, but this film is just like there's not a single joke that I like didn't get or didn't think, man, that's so fucking like hilarious, so fucking well made. Um, it is just the perfect film. It's the way I describe
Yes,
it.
10 out of 10. My
Indeed.
film of the year. And
Yeah.
bearing in mind,
Yeah, and that's
Sonic.
considering like I've seen Northman, which I also think is a 10 out of 10. It's like this is a very high bar to pass, like better than Robert Eggers, but it didn't.
Sonic 2 came out this year for me.
Oh yeah, that's a good point.
So it beat Sonic 2 in terms of personal enjoyment.
Yeah, which is insane. But yeah, I think that's all for Everything Everywhere All at Once.
Oh, Obi-Wan, very briefly,
Oh, okay. I'm not watching
Oh,
it,
because
so I
I
don't
okay.
care.
is it only me that's watching it?
It's 10 is
I'm watching it too.
yeah.
Oh yeah, you are. So what can we say about Obi-Wan?
It's
Dog
shit.
shit. It again when Mando Season 2 came out, well, the finale came out, and you had everyone heralding it as the new age of Disney. Filoni, Favreau, Kennedy is fucking off.
Except she
Obviously
hasn't,
Sky and I,
but
yeah, Sky and I, very prominently was like, no, it's going to go downhill.
yeah,
And how woke we were.
yeah. I'm so glad
Um,
I stopped watching after that. I have not watched a single new Star Wars thing since Mando Season 2. I've not watched Boba Fett. I've not watched this. I'm just so happy.
um, Reva's the worst addition to Star Wars since Rey, and not in the sense that she's a Mary Sue, because she isn't. That'd be bullshit. It's just she's so fucking unlikable and she's so pointless. So for context, for some people who don't know somehow, she was a youngling during Order 66, and she gets stabbed by Vader, and she survived somehow. And Vader knew she survived, by the way, so bear that in mind.
Wait, he
And
knew? Okay.
yeah, it's gonna get worse. Um, so she knows who Vader is, and Vader knows she's alive. And over the years, she learns how to survive, and she becomes an Inquisitor. Um, to the point she becomes is it third sister, Tim?
Yeah, it's a third sister, yeah.
Third sister. So she's the third sister. You have the fifth brother. You have the Grand Inquisitor, and they work together to hunt Jedi. And she seems to have a particular interest in Obi-Wan. So we go through the show. She kidnaps Leia. She goes against all orders. She's somehow not killed. She even fails Vader. Somehow not killed. And she quote unquote kills the Grand Inquisitor. And we reach to the point where we are now, where we find out she actually wanted to kill Vader. For the younglings situation. And it seems she was after Obi-Wan to get to Vader. And after she fails Vader, with Obi-Wan fleeing, she tries to backstab Vader and probably gets royally fucked, and then stabbed. Only for Vader to go, lol, here's Grand Inquisitor doing an epic prank on you, because we knew all along. And then they just walk away, leaving her for dead, and now she's going to go after Luke. And that's forever. The reason why I despise her, in every capacity, is she's an unlikable character, to be quite honest. She's very, there's nothing good within her. And it's very, shouty, aggressive, nonsensical. And the actress is dog shit. I know she's been getting racism, and that's not cool. But I'm still gonna say the actress is utter dog shit.
That's
She can't
equality.
act.
If she were white, she'd still be shit. So yeah.
Yes,
Yeah,
if she was white, she'd still be shit. Like, I please let this actress leave. Don't make a spin-off. I'm kidding when I want that.
Well, isn't there actually a talk about a Riva TV show? I've heard
Yes,
about that.
yes, they may do a Reva spin-off. They ruined Darth Vader at this point. I think this show does ruin Darth Vader. They make him a retard, and they make me actually laugh at Darth Vader. And when you laugh at Darth Vader for bad reasons, that's not fucking
Yeah,
good for you.
yeah. It's not because
Yeah.
he's
It's not
being
when like he
silly,
gives like a
saying
very
like
sassy
yeah.
promo
It's not like
song or
him
like
say
a
don't
very
choke
dark
on your
theme sort of song.
aspirations or whatever. It's just he's
Like-
so dumb.
Yeah. I mean, he couldn't tell that there was a giant ship next to the ship he was attacking that was flying up in the air. Darth Vader, everyone. Um, the most annoying thing really is the implications on canon, because the inciting incident for Obi-Wan is that Leia gets kidnapped and Bail goes towards Obi-Wan. Now, the Inquisitors, mainly Reva, knows that there's a connection between Leia, Obi-Wan, and Bail, because that's why she tried getting Leia, which causes suspicion. And now she's going to go after Luke, which means she knows about Obi-Wan and Luke, and Owen and Luke. The point is, no one's supposed to know this, like at all, in the same way no one's supposed to know who Vader is. Now that such a connection had to be established to exist and anyone can exploit that, Obi-Wan should have been dead, the mission should have failed. So this kind of ruins everything, and it could have been so easily avoided if Disney Star Wars learns that we don't need fucking grand big stakes with all these returning characters. We can have a nice interpersonal characterization of Obi-Wan and how he interacts with Owen, for example, or the citizens on Tatooine. That's all you need.
This is a good question, chat. If the actress is better, is just the material. I honestly think the people who are making the show are terrible in terms of like filmmaking, because every single clip I've seen, as well as the EFAPs reacting to it, the cinematography is awful, like the direction is awful. So I do think it is partly not just like the actress is bad. She might be good in another role in the future, and it's just the material under her that's shit. Because
If I
sometimes it's very hard to tell. Like George
so
Lucas made Natalie Portman bad in the prequel, so I think that's quite telling.
so I don't think it's just filmmaking in this case, because there are moments when the Reva actress is doing line delivery that is so oddly acted that I don't think her director's going, do it like this. Like, there's a line she says where she does like random pauses and there's no tone behind it. So I'm like, I think this is the actress as well.
Well, no,
I don't know what else she's
I
been
don't
in.
know. Maybe the pauses are by the director being like, you gotta emphasize this point. You gotta pause here, because
But
there's as well as like stage directions. A lot of them, a lot of scripts have like say something and then beat, and then for a lot of it, Chibnall scripts he has that, and it gets so disjointed. Like you have that conversation in Legend of the Sea Devils between Yaz and the Doctor. And it has like loads of beats, but like at random fucking points, as if Chibnall just doesn't know how to separate paragraphs or shit like that. And it's just he gets a beat every now and then to like make it seem more fluid, I guess. And that's why I think like the delivery in that scene is so weird. So I think a lot of times it's not just the actor, even in like those instances. But I don't know. I haven't watched the show like fully. I've just watched the EFAP reaction, so I might be wrong.
well, the interesting thing as well, though, he will behind this when they're working on the other shows. I don't notice the same, or at least they're not so apparent these issues, which is why I think it's both.
Well,
Um,
the other shows were made by like Filoni and Favreau, right? This wasn't.
this one's got Chow involved, who's involved in Mandalorian.
Oh yeah, but it's not like Favreau and Filoni are showrunning. They usually have like their fingerprints all over, because whether you like it or not, they do have like that
Let me see.
superhero vibe you get from it, like that Marvel movie vibe. Because well, it's Favreau. He's been working with Marvel since the first Marvel MCU film.
Let me
So,
see who's actually behind the show.
but
I
oh
know.
yeah, I watched the because RLM made a Kenobi review last night. It's not good. I think it's very clearly that Red Letter Media is not very great when they talk about Star Wars, because they clearly don't care. So like the most they could praise it for was like, oh, it looked cheap, and I like that on like both an ironic level and an unironic level, because it's like it is
Huh.
focusing on what should be focused on, which is the characters. I'm like, is it really? Because I can't tell that from the reactions I've seen and from what Jed
Huh.
tells me. So yeah, I would not recommend that video. But I do like Red Letter
Uh,
Media as a channel.
I don't think it's the writers, because for example, Andrew Stanton's involved, and I know he did Toy Story 4
You.
and stuff like that. He was alright for that, but he did also like write. He wrote the original Toy Story, Bugs Life, Toy Story 2. Did a screenplay for Monsters Inc., Finding Nemo, Wally, Toy Story 3, and so forth. So it's kind of like, even in the bad ones, there's been like good um performances. Wherever it just sticks out.
Uh,
No one else sticks out. It's
is
hard.
Andrew Stanton is the name of the guy?
Yeah.
Andrew
Uh,
Stanton. Let's see.
if you look at his writing credits, he hasn't written everything good. He did like John Carter, for example,
Oh, you, John Carter.
and
Does
he did
anyone
also
remember
Toy
that
Story
film?
4.
I don't think anyone
Um,
remembers that film existed.
I remember and forget at the same time.
Yeah, I remember I watched it. It was kind of
But
he
he
also
did
made a
episode
Bugs
5.
Life, which is cringe. But yeah, no. Well, who knows? It's also like a thing where these shows, the way they're made, because I don't know if you guys have heard like interviews, because of watching EFAP, the EFAP reactions on it. They're in their editing, they love to put like clips from interviews with actors and shit like that. And there's an interview with I forgot his name, the guy who plays Boba Fett. He was saying how like Jon Favreau, after writing his episode, he was just like, he went to New York and he was like nowhere to be found. Like, so I think a lot of the time it's like they are crunching to get these episodes over with, and they don't have time to actually develop. Which is why sometimes you can see like really good writers getting delivering really bad stuff. Which is why I think like Shang-Chi was so bad, because I think Daniel Cretton is a really good writer and director, at least based on Just Mercy. But Shang-Chi sucks. So I don't know. I think it's just kind of like the business model from Disney. Kind of it fucks over a bit with like creativity by writers. Uh, who knows?
I also want to add some about I mentioned Leia. Leia is god awful in this. The problem with Leia is, so she's 10 in this apparently, and they want to display her as naive, a bit stupid at points, but they also want her to be super intelligent at random points, and it's very weird. She kind of goes from one extreme to the other, and she becomes insufferable. Like in episode 2, she after episode 1 where she done like a full psychoanalysis of her cousin, in episode 2 she thinks Obi-Wan's trying to kidnap her after
I
he saved
remember
her from the
that. Yeah,
kidnappers.
yeah.
And I'm like, oh. And then she tries running off to the rooftops. I'm like, what the fuck? So Leia's insufferable, and that's a really bad thing to do.
Yeah, because Leia in
'Cause,
the original trilogy was so fun. She's great. I love Leia.
I mean, I don't even dislike Leia in the sequel trilogy.
I mean, she's not
She's
a good god
stupid.
character, so it's kind of hard to
Yeah.
care. Like, I think Carrie Fisher does a good job with like delivering lines and putting emotion behind them, but as a character, she hasn't got much. Like, when she first talks to Han, she mentions like, "Oh, new jacket." It's like, "Oh, new hair." It's like, okay. You could do a bit
Well
more
done,
with these
guys.
two characters who got divorced in the time between these films. They got divorced, had a fucking child who turned to the dark side. Maybe you could have a bit of a better conversation. But that's on The Force Awakens. Let's not dwell on that, because there's so much you can say about the Disney trilogy at this point. But anyway, before we get into Agents of Shield, still wanted to ask just one thing, because Tin, you've also watched Kenobi. Is there anything you would like to share? Because Jeb has taken the floor because he's a cunt. He doesn't let you speak.
Yes.
It's just that the thing with Kenobi is it was the one sort of thing I always wanted as a Star Wars fan, as like when the sort of era of spin-offs and that were announced, like a Kenobi one was what pretty much everyone wanted, and like seeing it so wasted is just depressing because like the thing I keep on saying over and over again, Logan in space is what it should have been,
Yes.
and instead we got basically planet hopping adventure with young Leia and Vader and the Inquisitors, and it's like it shouldn't have been this. And it's
Oh,
like
and
when
episode one did have kind of that, right? That kind of like introspective exploration of Obi-Wan being kind of a hermit, just trying to get his bearings on who he is and like doubting his abilities, which is quite interesting.
For
Like
10
the episode one
for
wasn't
10
great, but
minutes.
yeah.
For 10 minutes.
Episode wasn't great from what I've seen, but it did have like a bit of that, which was
Yeah.
like
It's-
that's
it's
promising.
Basically, everything in that episode, which was on Tatooine with him focusing on his life, I wanted that for the entire thing. Like, I didn't want him to go off a planet. I didn't want him to interact with anyone else. I just wanted him on Tatooine. But instead, we need to get in a Vader rematch twice,
Would
apparently,
you
I
fucking
guess.
get Bail or Organa to call Obi-Wan to rescue Leia? Because that's smart, right? You call the most wanted man in the universe to rescue your daughter when you're a fucking... What is he? Is he a king? He's a king, right? Because she's Princess
Galactic
Leia.
Senator.
Alright.
Senator, but they call him Your Highness. I think it's just a weird thing.
Well, I'd imagine he's a king because she's, Princess Leia, but who knows?
He's a king of Alderaan, but he's also a galactic senator.
Oh, okay. So that just kind
that
of
makes
builds on
sense.
my point. It's like you have so many
Yes.
people you could hire to get your fucking daughter. Why Obi-Wan, the one worst person, should do that? Which would also take him off watching Luke, which Bail would obviously know about. Stupid. Yeah. It just seems super forced. And I saw the Red Letter video last night. They were saying like, "Oh yeah, no, I think that's the way to do it. You get him to go after Leia." I'm like, "What? No, that's stupid. Why would this be the one way to do it?" Because like from what it seemed like, RLM was just like, I guess, accepting things because they see how cynical Disney is. It's just like, hey, I had a few moments that I liked. Like they liked the fucking Vader fight in episode 3, which was like, okay, because they said it looks so cheap. But they liked it because it wasn't like too drawn out, and they hate the prequels, so they're like shitting on Revenge of the Sith for the fight being so long, and so yeah, it was kind of a weird video. But yeah, point being, Obi-Wan sucks the show, and yeah, and now the caricature.
One thing I hate about the show is how it's basically just wasted Hayden Christensen. Like the guy went basically into hiding after the prequels, and they bring him back, and they don't even show his face really for until the 5th episode.
Have you seen
Like-
Little Italy 10?
Like
Because that's a film with Hayden Christensen.
he was in episode 3, I think, but he was so far in the
Yes.
distance, I didn't even know it was him until someone said it's him.
You're welcome.
Oh yeah, he was very far away. It was kind of a weird
Yeah, like-
shot. I didn't.
And they bring him for a flashback where you can clearly tell he's aged 20 years.
It's like we
You know,
had the idea.
something I would have liked is how how in episode 1 of Legion there's that shot where Lenny was talking to David, and then David's sister shows up, and Lenny doesn't show up when we have the shot of David's sister, but we see her in the mirror when we have the reverse shot of David talking, and I think that's kind of the kind of shit that we should see from like you show Hayden haunting not David, haunting
yes.
Obi-Wan, that kind of like just a presence in his life. Or I think you said it, in right,
Yes.
about Flynn.
Yes, that was my
Riley.
idea, basically, that he was...
Yeah, Riley
basically,
Flynn in
while
Midnight Mass.
one's on Tatooine, that Anakin basically haunts him. Like, he's, like, always haunted by him. And then, like, I mean, like, 10 years down the line, he can't even look at him, so he's just accepted that he's there. Like, that sort of shit would be amazing.
Yeah, like
It's,
the Riley shit in Midnight Mass is what you cited, which I
Yeah,
thought was a
that's
very
what I said,
good
basically, like-
comparison, because it's
like-
like there's a point in Midnight Mass where Riley even says like good night to the ghost, It's just like he's accepted that it's just a constant presence in his life, like this constant guilt and regret over his past mistakes, which I think is quite interesting.
Yeah, and like, and maybe like the last episode, like he finally accepts that Anakin is there and just says like "Hello, old friend" or something like that. Like that would be a good way to use Hayden. That would be a genuinely brilliant way to use him, not just bring him in as Vader. Like that is the most basic thing you can do, to be honest.
I had the idea of if you're going to do a Vader fight, we as the audience see Vader, but when we're looking at it through the viewpoint of Obi-Wan, we see Hayden.
Mm-hmm. Which would
Which-
which could firstly do some really cool things with editing there, but also just like do a lot for Obi-Wan as a character and deal with his guilt.
Yes.
Yeah, this show is just
Yeah.
missed
This
opportunities.
show probably has the biggest missed opportunities I've seen in a while.
Well, I would disagree because the biggest missed opportunities for me in like any film, anything I've ever seen is in Multiverse of Madness.
I also think it's a bit disrespectful for those with PTSD and such, because constantly the message is, get over it, Obi-Wan, get on with it. And I'm kind of like, well, no.
And you know what's quite interesting? Because I was watching because Agents of Shield season 1 has 3 episodes that have commentary tracks. I was watching them last night. It's A Magical Place, Tracks, and FZZT. During A Magical Place, they were talking about obviously the scene of Coulson in the operating table, and he's like, you know, let me die, and shit like that. They said, Clark Gregg specifically said, that they've gotten like letters from veterans and shit like that have talked about how well portrayed the PTSD in that episode was, like that feeling of just wanting to die, which I think is quite interesting, like how real it felt. And it just shows like one show deals with something like that with a lot of respect and the other does not.
Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is really good.
Yeah, which we'll get into.
Obi-Wan isn't.
Yeah. So speaking of, are we done with Obi-Wan? Can we move on to Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.? Is there anything else you would like to mention?
The Boys.
Oh, I watched episode
I'm
1.
gonna make
It was
this.
alright.
I'm gonna make this 2 sentences because I just want to get over it. The Boys season 3 has been better than season 2. It has some tisms. It has some really good stuff like Homelander. I don't think it's going to stick the landing, but I digress.
Okie doke. Yeah, I watched episode 1. It was good, mostly. The termite scene sucked, and that's all I have to say.
Yes.
Sucked as in, like, it's not like it was bad on, like, a consistency level, just completely unnecessary, it felt like.
Oh, it was bad
Extremely
on a
grotesque.
consistency level.
Oh, yeah?
Because
Oh, if you mean with his powers, then I agree they're completely
yeah.
inconsistent. I thought it was super weird. I didn't know if it was like, is it Ant-Man rules? Is it Adam rules? I didn't know. It felt like just like whatever the writers needed to get the scene to get him to be inside the fucking cocaine bag. Yeah. Plus, he should have died, but who cares? Well, he shouldn't even have been able to snort the cocaine, considering he'd be so small it wouldn't enter his airways. But
they should have been dead when they got hit full force. They shouldn't even be on missions if they keep causing shit like this. But anyway.
Well, to be fair, they didn't cause that. He did it himself, and then they just kind of dealt with it. And Butcher was like, he didn't even kill him. But it is kind of a weird thing with what's her face, Kiwi's boss, that she's just like
Newman.
okay with Newman, with dealing with. She's just okay with dealing with Butcher or something like. I don't think she would be, but whatever. Like she doesn't really have a lot of character in Newman, at least in episode 1. That's the one I've watched.
She does in the season, to be honest.
Yeah, she seems like kind of a prop. She'd be like, oh, she has mysteries. So yeah.
Yes.
I still think just watch season 1 of The Boys and then stop. I think it's the best of everything. So anyway, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Are we ready to start? Is that all? After 50 minutes, are we ready to talk about the main topic of the fucking stream?
Oh, no, I'm kidding. We're ready.
Fuck's sake. Fuck, my throat is bad. I apologize for everyone.
Oh, Miss Marvel. Unironically, Miss Marvel.
Unironically, episode 1 was really good. Really, really good. I really loved it. Haven't watched episode 2 yet.
Episode 2 is not as good as 1, but it's serviceable. This is better than Obi-Wan, and it's been better
Wow.
than...
High bar.
So far, it is just below WandaVision in the opening 2 episodes.
I
So,
think
you know,
episode 1 of Miss Marvel was better than anything WandaVision did.
I don't know, it has some... Because the problem with episode 1 WandaVision, if we keep it in isolation, which is hard to
I mean,
do...
when it's like, if you look at it and just like, is it like consistent with itself? Episode 1 with WandaVision is like perfectly, because we have no idea what's going on, right?
Exactly.
But I feel like on what it achieves, episode 1 of Miss Marvel does so much more in terms of character exploration and just like pure creativity and world building. I think it does a lot. It's not perfect, but I think just on what it achieves is way more than WandaVision, because WandaVision was like, oh, there's a mystery, and it's building up to something that when we see what it is like, oh, that sucks.
Yeah, episode 2 is... It's weird, episode 2 is kind of lower stakes than 1 until the end. It's quite weird.
Yeah, and I'm quite liking how low stakes have been. It's very personal to the character and the character relationships within her family. Just a breath of fresh air after fucking Multiverse of Madness. So,
And I'm so far hearing it's doing the Muslim aspects right, which is
yeah,
very
that's what I've
crucial.
heard. Which I've
I'm
heard
happy
people
with
as
that.
well saying like, oh, this is doing the Muslim ship right, but it just kind of highlights how badly they handled Moon Knight, which I still find weird
Yeah.
that people complain about that, because it's like it's an adaptation, but people care way too much, I think, about adaptations being accurate. I don't know. Anyway, did we even talk about Moon Knight when it ended? I don't even know, because that show just kind of slipped by, didn't it?
Well, we did. I came to the conclusion as I don't know what to think of it.
Yeah, I think it's like a 5, or like I like it more than I dislike it, but it has a lot of issues. Especially in the finale. I think the finale is the worst episode of the show, but I don't think it's
Big
anywhere near
doo-doo.
as bad as the other Disney Plus finales. It's nowhere near as bad as a Falcon Winter Soldier on WandaVision Loki. And to be fair, Loki the finale isn't even the worst episode, is it? Well, episode 1 is the one that takes away the free will, so I think episode 1
Yeah.
probably is the worst, right? Anyway, Agents of Shield, we're doing it, okay? We're finally here. Agents of Shield is a TV show that started in 2013, created by Joss Whedon, his brother Jad Whedon, Marissa, I forgot how to pronounce her name, and Jeff something. I don't fucking know. I don't really know the names. I try to go from memory, and
Avengers,
it is
Avengers
great.
1 or Ages of Shield. Ages of Shield.
Agents of Shield, yeah.
Easy. And no, I haven't watched their review. To be honest, I don't care to.
Oh, yeah. Also, last night Drinker kind of made a very transphobic comment about Ezra Miller, which is fun. Yeah. But anyway, Agents of Shield is a show that all 4 of us have watched, but Tin only finished it recently, which you would know if you had watched our last stream where Tin talked about it in our recommendation corner. See, that's why recommendation corner is so important, to keep up to date with the lore of ECUM. And with that, yeah, exactly. And with that, yeah, we loved the show. I think Jeb is the one who likes it the most out of all of us.
I'd
Because
say
that's like how we met.
I'd definitely say I'm the most passionate.
Yeah, and that's how we met. We started talking about Agents of
Yes.
Shield under a tweet, and then I DM'd you, being like, "Yo, I'll talk about the show once it ends," and like, sure. And we were like DMing after every episode of season 7, which is fun because season 7 is great, as is every season. But you know, yeah. I have no idea how to structure this. 10. What's your favorite season?
Fuck.
I am
Favorite
putting you
season,
on the
huh?
spot. Yes. If you don't say 4, you're wrong.
Actually, yeah, season 4 might have actually been my favorite one.
Exactly. You're not wrong. Good on you. No, Agents of Shield is not a 10 out of 10. I give it a 9. Jeb will probably give it an 8 because he always gives like one lower than I do.
I give it a 9.
Oh, damn.
Its character work is any shortcomings that are with the narrative side. The character work kind of like punches her in the face.
Yeah, and it's also like the problems in terms of a plot level were always so small, except for that one thing in season 6, which isn't even the show's fault, so I don't even like really care about it. So yeah. Also, yeah, clear spoilers ahead, for the entirety of the show. And I prefer Legion because Legion's Legion, but Agents of Shield is great. I do love it. So Agents of Shield. I asked favorite season because it's a contentious topic between me and Jeb, because Jeb thinks season
Yes.
5 is better than 4, and I say fuck you. And I completely understand why season 5 would be considered better than 4, though, because the insane character work and all the fantastic payoffs. Like, we have Fitz proposing and then marrying Simmons, so I think that's already like a big knock in its favor. But I also feel like season 4 does so much for so many characters, and it executes, I think, the hardest thing to get right, which is the framework, perfectly. Not exaggerating, I genuinely think it's like the perfect exploration uh um of the characters in what like in how the show understands its own characters, because of how, like, the entire premise of the framework is like it gets these I was gonna say the number of characters, but I don't know how many. So, the entire team bar Yo-Yo, Simmons, and Scott, Daisy. I'd said Skype because I've been watching season 1. And it basically erases their biggest regret, and it builds a world around that to, fit this worldview without their main regret. And so you think, oh, which is the main regret for each character, and how would that work? So, for example, May's biggest regret is obviously the Bahrain stuff of killing that child, something that's been haunting her ever since. If you erase that, then you have the idea that Hydra would use that to make an anti-Inhumans like narrative, because of how many people were killed there because of an Inhuman, and it just works perfectly on like a world building level. It's like, yeah, obviously this would happen, and what May did was so important, which is why, like, she learned to accept her her actions in that season, of like what she did in Bahrain and how right it was, in the same way where uh what's his name, the shield director, Mace, of him
Mace, yeah.
sacrificing his life, being what like triggers her to realize, like, once you see someone sacrifice his life to save you, and he's your enemy, you kind of like get a like you second guess what's right. And I think that's like so good to make her understand like what she shouldn't like regret this idea, what she did to that child, because of how impactful it was, because of how she managed to save so many lives, and especially
Um,
seeing the impact of the world there. And that's
I
just
wanna,
May. Like,
I
it's
wanna,
that on
I
every
wanna add
character.
something
All
there
right.
because you missed a little detail. What also gets her to initially second guess out of everything is seeing what's happening to the children.
Oh yeah, they were experimenting on the children and
Yeah.
brainwashing them. Yeah, that's true. They're doing this like this Clockwork Orange kind of shit with them, which is quite interesting. So have the best character work in the MCU? Yes.
Yes.
I also think it, because now you reminded me, like, the children reminded me of the effect, like, of her killing that child, and in season 5 her having to take care of a child, that being like Robin. I think it also works quite well for her character, of like
Yes.
having to be that mother to someone. It's quite beautiful. I love May as a character. I think she's quite underrated, because as much as the other characters are great, I think May gets so much character through so little lines because of how stoic she is, which is a product of her, experiences with Bahrain. But anyway, as I was saying, like, season 4 with the amazing character work, I feel like the framework as well. I think with Fitz, it's like the one small change. Oh, he wanted to have a better relationship with his father. He regretted not having that. So if you change that, his father being someone so controlling and like a piece of shit, as we knew what had been established, because all he wanted to do was like make his father proud and prove that he was you know a, as good a man as his father was, because he his father, he looked very highly on his father, but then he obviously left him and his mom, and so that causing him to become, the Doctor, being like the head of Hydra. I think it works really well because of him wanting to impress his father, of wanting to, become so detached from his emotions so that they don't blind him, because that's like the point of his what that his dad does, as in like a character. He wants Fitz to just focus on the mission and not really care about what's her face, Ada, what's her name, is it Agnes in the Madam Hydra? I don't remember the exact
Madam
name she
Hydra.
uses, but it's
So
Ada.
in
So
the framework, she goes by Ophelia.
Ophelia, that's it. Yeah. Because Agnes is the name of the real woman, so that's why I was confused.
Yes.
The woman that Ada is based on. Uh, and so yeah, I think Fitz as well. Season 4 and 5 are like his best. Because of how he has to deal with the fact that he has that darkness in him of being able to do all those things he's done, and then developing some, personality disorder because of it, which I think is quite interesting as well, because I was watching it recently, season 5, and Fitz actually, he foreshadows that well, I don't know if he foreshadows or he is actually just kind of admitting that, but when he's locked up and they ask him, um where his friends are. He says, I could have developed, because of like my brain trauma and my experiences, the framework, I could have developed a dissociative identity disorder, and because of that, I could have been the one that like made my friends disappear, and I wouldn't even know and remember. Uh, and I'm like, oh shit, that is. He actually knows that he has either he knows that he's has this already, because he's been hearing the Doctor's voice, or he's just like guessed right, and it's kind of like really good foreshadowing. And either way, I think it works really well, because it's giving like an explanation as to why he would still hear and by that point, season 5, see the Doctor, that other personality of him, without feeling like just exposition, which I think is really good. I stop because if you want to say something, because the 4 people here and I've been talking a lot.
I'm going to make a case for season 5
You
of Agents of Shield. So even though it's contentious between me and Sky, it's worth noting that whatever season it is, it's like an edging it out kind of deal.
Yeah.
I played 10 out of 10 seasons, and it's kind of like which was a more of a 10 out of 10 sort of deal. I do agree that the framework it's proof that these writers understand their characters at a core level and understand how to rewrite them in ways that are creative but makes complete sense.
Well, yeah. I think the perfect case is Ward, with how he is.
Yes.
He works for Shield. He works for the, I guess, resistance in this new universe, because the entire point of Ward as a character is that Garrett got to him, and he influenced him to become like this a bad person, and with the right influence, Ward could have been a really great Shield agent.
And the reason why I find season 5 better is because partially because of how well it handles time travel, especially a time loop. People don't understand how difficult a fucking time loop can be, because you kind of have to have everything lead into itself, but also loop back around without causing any paradoxes, and that's
Yeah.
quite a difficult thing.
Especially
it
when they do
also-
change time by the end.
Exactly, but it does what season 4 does with like deconstructing its characters, and makes them all on. It gives them an extreme to act on, which is Coulson is dying. How does each character react? What are their beliefs in this moment? How are those beliefs changing in relation to they know what the future is?
Yeah, and it's so great, I think, because it's like the main conflict, of course, is like they have to save the world, but the main conflict is about, can we go about this while still saving Coulson's? Like, should we save Coulson or not?
Yeah,
Like, it's about this one character, and it would have been so impactful if we hadn't had like 5 seasons developing Coulson to get to that point, and the relationships with him.
and I find as well, while season 4 has an excellent villain, season five's villain, ultimate villain. There's something about how it built up that twist, because for spoilers, we have Graviton, something that was built up since season one, and it turns out that Talbot is Graviton. It's such a different direction for a reoccurring character that makes complete sense, that if you saw him at the beginning of his arc and see him at his end, you just feel completely satisfied. You don't feel this kind of came out of nowhere for shock value. The willingness to help his friends and make it up, and then he gets his mind corrupted but still wants to do the right thing. And the way it ties into the MCU with Infinity War, I'm just like, wow.
Yeah, it's
Um,
really fantastic world building.
they give a shit.
Yeah.
MCU doesn't, but they do.
Yeah, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. really cares about keeping consistent with the larger MCU, when the larger MCU does not care about Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. at all.
Plus, I think because it was intended as the final season, or what was expected to be,
Yeah.
the way it was able to bring all these old threads that a lot of fans probably don't remember, and tie them together and have all these different beats culminate. Hydra's return, but in a different way. Gravitonium, Graviton, time travel. The only thread that didn't complete was the Inhuman that went to the bottom of the sea.
Yeah, and
That's
it's all
it.
because of the musical cue that plays when he's at the bottom of the sea that implies that there's more.
Yes.
Because if they changed that, it could have just been like a tragic death to his character. But they play like this ominous music that's like, oh, is he gonna come back?
It's like, to me, see, I find doing an ending the hardest thing for any writer to do, which is why I put season 5 above season 4 ultimately.
Mm-hmm.
Because I find it, if that was the finale, even though season 7's very good.
Yeah, I think the
Yeah.
season 7 finale, I think, is better than season
Yeah.
5's, in terms of like an ending.
And the way Fitz is handled, when I remember when I first watched it and I saw the fire, I was kind of like, no, you've killed me. But it kind of makes, like, every time I watch it, I see more and more clues that, yeah, this was his inevitable outcome.
Mhm.
And it was very clear that he was the one to die. It's just so good. And then the fact that
Well,
he's
it's
actually
also-
alive makes sense.
Also, what I think is perfect is because we knew that if they don't change time, Fitzsimmons are gonna be alive. Mac is gonna die, as well as Robin's mom. And so when we see Mac and Robin's mom and May coming out of that tunnel, it's like, oh shit, time is changing. And once time is changing, anything's up for grabs. And then that's when Fitz gets hurt. And it's like, oh shit, wait, is he gonna die? Because now he could, because they actually have changed time. Like, they've proven it's
Yes.
possible. I think it's just like
And
such a perfect way of building up this certainty as well, because of Fitzsimmons throughout the season saying they're invincible, them and Yo-Yo, because like oh, we survive in the future, so there's nothing that can kill us. I think it just works so well to have him be the one who dies.
And I think as well, what I really appreciate, because a lot of shows do this, they kind of do the whole tease that a big character's going to die, and then they cop out. The fact that they actually kill off Coulson, but do it in such a graceful way, yes.
Yeah, I mean, would you consider it a cop out when he comes back in season 7 as a clone? Because I think it's like as a clone, as an LMD. Because I don't think I would, because of how much him being an LMD impacts him as a person. I think it's quite clear that it's like his death still has had a big impact on him, and that he didn't want to be brought back, and he said that multiple times, but they needed him, and it's kind of like, what are we gonna do after that?
I don't think it's a cop out because one, you see how the team is without him. Two, there's a clear reason why he's there, and that's because they're traveling through the past of Shield, and he's the best historian on Shield.
Yeah.
And three, as you said.
Yeah.
I think it's very well earned. Oh, to answer the questions, yes, they're insanely good, but we kind of differ on which one is better. And Endgame,
It wasn't
Endgame
Endgame that
contradicts.
contradicted. It was Agents of Shield contradicted Endgame because season 6 came out after, even though it was made like as Endgame was like before it came out. The issue is that Marvel Studios didn't communicate with Marvel TV as to how they were gonna solve the snap in Infinity War, and they're like, and Agents of Shield was like, well, I guess if we jump 1 year ahead, that should like give us the leeway of just being like, yeah, no, everything's fine. everything's been resolved, but then it wasn't, and so we kind of get to a point where because of that, the only explanation is that in season 6, Agents of Shield is in a different timeline than Endgame, but it doesn't really make sense considering the only way for that to happen would have been if the timeline, it would have been if they had changed the timeline beyond just killing Graviton, because killing Graviton would mean that the events of Infinity War transpired as we saw. So yeah.
Yeah. So if you think of it like this, the only reason Infinity War happens because Agents of Shield were involved, and they never get the credit,
Yeah.
and it's bullshit. But Multiverse of Madness contradicts Agents of Shield, and so does Loki. So
Yeah. Well, that's kind of like everything that does the diverging timelines, time travel stuff. That's contradicted. Uh, is contradicted by Loki and Multiverse of Madness, right? Because of how the rules in those don't make any sense.
anything Phase 4 does contradicts Agents of Shield because Agents of Shield is just Phase 4 but good.
Yeah. Well, there's also there's the Darkhold, for example, which showed up in Agents of Shield. There's like so much stuff with the Darkhold, and it's so important. And then WandaVision's like, well, actually, we don't care about Agents of Shield, so yeah. But it's not like it hasn't been contradicted before. Ragnarok contradicts Agents of Shield as well, because Agents of Shield establishes in season 2 that Heimdall is still working, and that Sif is working for Odin, and Odin by that point was Loki, and it's kind of like they kind of just don't want to address that in Ragnarok. They're like, oh, they Sif isn't here, and Heimdall it has been kicked out, and like, well, it can't be after season 2 because then you would have seen that it's that Loki is Odin. So yeah, it kind of like lacks that kind of explanation.
We haven't asked Tin or no, we did ask him what their favourite season was. We haven't asked Salt.
Yeah, so what's your favorite season?
I think like
Five.
just sort of like just sort of listening to the discussions and that. I think on a writing level, I'd probably rate 5 higher.
Yes.
But
Cringe Lord.
but I think I personally like 4 more.
Break victim.
Based. Very based. If you'd like to elaborate on why.
Yeah.
Chad and I have
Yeah.
been talking a lot. We don't want to hog the conversation.
I'm only just going on memory because I should have rewatched it before doing this, but you know.
I didn't, it's fine.
Yeah, I've been rewatching it.
I've seen it
Yeah.
5 times, so
I've seen it a few times.
Because well, season 4 first off has Ghost Rider, which is just like it's just a cool thing. I can't. It's difficult to give like objective reasons, but it's Ghost Rider. He's got a fucking flaming skull. But come on.
it's difficult to give objective reasons. He looks cool, his appearance.
Does he not look cool though, Jeb? Tell me. Does he or does
He does. He has one of the best edges. Also, Agents of Shield isn't canon.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we
come
Jeb
on.
and I have talked about this for a while, where we wanted it to be canon, but then after seeing what the MCU turned out, we were just like, I'm glad everything contradicts it because it's quite clear it's not canon. Generally, I think the only
it's better off.
after Age of Ultron, everything is just like we don't care about Age of the Shield. But anyway, Zod, continue.
Yeah, I just love the framework stuff. Just how brilliantly it all comes together. How well it's been said about how it's designed around fixing the character's biggest regrets and how that all comes together to make for the world that they're in. It makes for just fantastic world building and character work, especially for Fitz. Like, I think season 4 is pretty much like one of probably the biggest reason why I consider Fitz my favorite character. He's stellar in that season.
Gay.
I can see why, but
Yes.
I think season 5 does so much for his characters though.
Yes.
Yeah, that's it.
Well, it's like
Um,
it's kind of like, 'cause, I'm watching season 1 now with Mad Advocate. I'm like, It's hard to pick like a favorite character or a favorite season for a character because they all get a lot, right? Um, and like Mac is, for example, is a character where you don't get much for a while. It's just kind of like, oh, there. You didn't realize, oh, he's working for other Shield. Okay. Which kind of does like show a little bit of his morals, but you don't really understand why. And then you see him, believing in Coulson and being like, oh shit, Coulson actually is a good leader. I you know, even though he doesn't like following the rules or shit like that, he has his own way of doing things. He does know why he's breaking the rules or when to break the rules and what to do properly, which does give it a little bit of character. But then once the show goes on, we learn more about his past and his daughter and everything like that, as well as his relationship with Yo-Yo, and then obviously his relationship with his brother. It's like all of that builds into like a very, very, very good character. And it's like I don't know which season I would say is the best because from season 3 until season like 7, every season like builds on his character so much. And I find it very hard for a few characters to pick like, oh, this is their season.
4 for Mac.
Well, yeah, it's just like I could see that, but like let's see season 7, for example. That episode with Deke is just like it is perfect character study of the two.
Season 4. That scene with his daughter.
I mean, yeah, that scene with his daughter is amazing.
Yeah.
It's
And
too
with
much.
well, I wonder which scene you're talking about because there's a few. Obviously, I imagine the scene with Yo-Yo wanting to get him out and then not being able to because he wants his
Yes.
daughter. Yeah, that is one of the best scenes in the show, honestly. With two characters that came along way, way later, so it's quite interesting.
That'll be our next topic. Best season for each character, because that's gonna be very contentious, I think.
Interesting. But anyway, Zod, I interrupted you. Sorry.
Yeah, that scene with Mac was one I'd mention actually because that's just one of the emotional high points of pretty much across the show, and there is a lot of them, but that's definitely one of them. Just it's definitely incredibly well earned, but you sort of start to see elements of this world fading away, and it does feel a lot like watching an actual world just disappear bit by bit, which is quite impressive because it's not even like it's been built up across this particular world hasn't been here the whole season, but it still feels incredibly real in terms because of how they've built it and how you've seen the characters engage with it.
Oh yeah,
And
that's kind of the point that Radcliffe and Adrian should do, right? Like to actually make the lives, their fake lives worth living, for not make them want to get out, and to make it so real. And I think it's just so interesting because like Radcliffe thinks he's saving them. I think it works really well on his character to do that.
Yeah, that's why I just like Radcliffe a lot as well.
Yeah,
he's a character I really enjoy seeing.
Yeah,
and
the actor's amazing.
His exit, and his end was just. Pretty much the best you get for him.
Yeah, I love that shot.
Yeah.
Of him raising the glass and then he disappears and the glass falls to the ground and shatters, but there's no sound. It's so good.
It's just
that beautiful shot of the sunset. It's so good. Love it. Generally, I think it's one of the best shots in the show. A show that I don't think is like an amazingly shot show. I think it's kind of like very network TV looking, but sometimes it does get some beautiful shots.
Yeah. And I'm not really sure what else I can cite because there's just there is a lot that goes into season 4 and makes it work so well. Like the Darkhold stuff, the LMDs. But speaking of which, that one episode, which I can't remember what it's called.
The one where they escape the base?
Yeah. That one.
Shit, I don't remember the name either, but I know which one it is. I used to have it as the best episode of the show. I don't anymore because of as I have always been in the finale, but yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely one of my favorites. It's just excellent.
That scene with LMD May and LMD Coulson, man, fucking hell. Because it's like these aren't May and Coulson, right? So you shouldn't be that invested, just whatever. But this May we've seen her for so long, and she's actually developed a character of her own because she's broken out of like the Radcliffe programming, like because she's an earlier model. She was made purely to achieve a goal, and then there's a point where she does achieve, and it's like, well, what's my point anymore? Like, why do I exist? And she doesn't know. And she knows she's a robot, but she can't tell anyone, and it's brutal on her. And then she talks to LMD Coast, and it's like, I'm making a decision for myself for the first time, and I'm choosing to save them. Because she understands what Radcliffe what he's doing is wrong. And it's just such a beautiful scene where she blows up the base. It's just like, fucking hell. It was like, because Daisy and Gemma run past her, right, and she just lets them go, and like they don't understand it, but as audience members, you do, and you're like, man, this is so well learned, and it's just like happening, I guess, and like out of sight, out of mind for these characters. They have no idea that this is like has been happening. That May has had this entire fucking arc, LMD May. It's just, I think it works really well.
AOS over Guardians too.
I think Guardians shoes better on like
Wrong.
consistency level. I like Agents
Hate
Shield
you.
more. But that's because like I feel like the nature of TV shows, because they're so long, they can explore their characters in their world way better, and Agents Shield does that really well. So I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. Hard to pick one. It's like, like unironically, just like fully, yeah, this is my favorite because I love the show. But anyway, yeah, I love the LMD arc as well. Because it does give quite a lot of character, I think, to Ada and Radcliffe. I think especially exploring how Ada becomes more sentient, and she tries to find a way to circumvent her programming. And I think it's that scene where she kills Radcliffe and puts him in the framework. It's just like a perfect exploration of how, like, I guess the danger of AI, like what it was exploring with that, of how she wanted to find a way to circumvent her programming, to her two main directives. And she says, oh, my two main directives, they're contradictions, right? And then Radcliffe explains it to her. He's like, oh, the one way to save it then is if I kill you. And it's like, oh fuck, that's not that is not what he intended. But it's just because it's like an AI thinking of it, and then her trying to achieve humanity, but doing so, it becoming so overwhelming for her when she gets rejected by Fitz. It is a really good, really really good character exploration of Ada, which I think she's the best villain in the show. Would you agree, Jeb, or would you still say Graviton?
Um. Hmm. In terms of, I won't say Graviton purely because I think it's an unfair comparison because you got all the Talbot history,
Uh-huh.
whereas Ada in one season delivers nearly to the same amount.
Right.
So I'd happily say Ada.
Cool. Yeah, no, it is great. I do really love Talbot. I think his mentality of wanting to fix things after, you know, causing in his mind at least, he thinks he's caused so many problems for Coulson. Obviously they forgive him, but he doesn't forgive himself. I think that kind of mentality from, a soldier of not being able to forgive himself, for, leaking secrets and shit like that. It feels very real. It feels very, very consistent with what we know of him, because he is just a company man. He's the guy who is doing everything to protect his country. He's the patriot, that very conservative patriot, but he has a heart of gold. He has his mind in the right place of what he wants to achieve, which I think is nice. Yeah, I quite like Talbot. But yeah, you want to say best season for each character, right?
Yes. So I think I should go first because I'm very.
Well, I want to
I think
say
I'm.
we should just like go character by character, and then we just say what season we think.
Okay, I think we should start with Coulson because he's kind of the face of it.
Right.
Um,
I think season 5.
it's going to be 3 or 5. I'm going to go with. I'll go with 5. I think 5 edges it.
So
I'd I think I'd say the same. Yeah, I think it has to be 5 for me.
Well, Jeb, you said this would be contentious, so well done.
Going well.
Oh, it's a big very contentious.
10?
10, are you here? She's
Yeah,
muted.
still
I don't
got
think
her.
she is. Yeah.
Oh,
All right. Well, I think 5 because of how Coulson, knowing he's gonna die and having already accepted it, but not being able to like have the rest of the team accept it. I think it does a lot for his character. I think especially considering that scene in the 100th episode where Mike Peterson's like, you know, saying, "Oh, this is all a dream. Like, do you really think this all happened? All this shit happened? Like, because you got everything you wanted. You wanted a child. You wanted a family. You wanted people to care about. You wanted to save the world, and you did. Um, and it's time to let go because, like, I'm not ready to die yet. You know, he's not going down without a fight, and he doesn't. And his last action, basically, he can't even stand properly, and he is yeah, but he's still, you know, fighting to stay awake, to, you know, stay strong, to pretend that he's strong, pretend that he's taking the serum just so he can trick Sky into getting the serum from him and then using it to beat Graviton. I think that's just like a very powerful moment for his character of like, yeah, I've died before. I don't want to be brought back. I don't want to extend my life unnaturally, and I've lived a full life. And regardless of whether or not I could be brought back, it's not like I have to save the world. We can't keep doing this. And obviously, many characters didn't like that decision, wouldn't like that decision, but they completely understand it after the entire season of like debating it. And I think as well, the scene where right after Coulson pretends to have taken the serum, Yo-Yo is like, I was never arguing for you to die. I just didn't want the world to end. And Coulson's like, and I would have backed your decision. It wasn't after he took the serum. It wasn't when he was in the hospital bed. Yeah, but I think that it speaks loads about his character, about his priorities, about how good a person he is, and how he completely understands Yo-Yo, despite Yo-Yo, you know, advocating for his death. I think that's just like such a good exploration of like who Coulson is. Would you agree, Jeb, or the wind that's hitting Jeb's mic?
Oh yeah, that'd be my fan. So it's interesting where Coulson started off as this character who was having little cameos in the Marvel films, and he was kind of like a little joke character with some interesting tidbits. And we get to season 5. We get 5 seasons of Emma. We're at this point here, and man, does it knock it out of the park. To have him, it's interesting because you got a juxtaposition going on. You got him being so selfless, but you also got the other side of him being selfish in the sense that he's being selfless, that he's valuing the world over his own life, but he's doing it in a selfish intention that he just wants to go out on his own terms.
Mm-hmm.
And
Which
it's
May
sort of,
obviously really doesn't like.
yeah, because obviously May can't be without him, and it's like, whoa. It's just there's so much weight behind it, and what really elevates it is that we did have these 4 seasons prior, and understanding all these little facets about this character
Mm-hmm.
and why he's doing every single choice he's doing, what he's done, what regrets he has, and such. So when they come back in this episode, in this season, in the specific episode with Mike, those emotional beats really carry all the way through. All the way he interacts with characters, especially Daisy, because Daisy's his daughter figure. It's like gut punch after gut punch after gut punch. And what's interesting, and I think this elevates it, the absence of him in season 6 and the impact that has on the characters, especially Fitz, who didn't get to see him go.
Mm-hmm.
That just adds another layer to why his season 5 characterization was so good, because you realise what you've not got anymore. The only reason why season 3 is close is because season 3 deals with a very strong revenge plot, and deals with the weight of the revenge plot and his regret behind that. And it really goes in exploring it. Agent Shield does this a lot. It explores ethical issues really well.
Yeah.
But I think season 5, it does the clever thing. You get everything you need to know about a character when they're dying. That's when you find out everything. That's when you should find out everything. It's like looking at a character naked. And that is Coulson, the epitome. The man who values the world over everything, who would die instantly just to protect it. And those are the real values of S.H.I.E.L.D. That's what he
Yeah.
dies on, and I really love that.
Yeah.
And he dies on Tahiti, and it comes full circle,
Yeah.
which shows he's accepted that trauma, and he just wants peace, and that's his peace with me.
And obviously, I forgot what I was gonna say. Obviously, because that happens. Fuck, I forgot what I was gonna say. 10, you're here. What do you think is the best season for Coulson?
The best season for Coulson. Hmm.
AOS is not the best thing Marvel ever made because Legion exists.
Legion. Yeah, Legion. That's coming from me, by the way.
Yeah, from the Ages of Shield boy. Anyway, Tin, you have the
Best
floor.
Coulson season. Purely off the top of my head, I might say season 5.
Oh wow,
Oh
how
wow,
original!
that's a very different. Wow,
Hot take.
hot
Wow.
take. Yeah, we all said season 5. We were explaining why we think that. While you were gone, Tin, because obviously you abandoned us as you do.
Oh, I have to deal with my dog now because he barks up during the streams and that.
Just kill it. I mean, what? I didn't say that. So yeah, no, season 5, I think indeed is the best. I completely forgot what I was gonna say. I was gonna mention something about what Jeb was saying, but I do really like him getting like those last few moments with May. I guess like her accepting that she loves Coulson as well. I think is very very much interesting for her character because of how closed off she is, and then the season she becomes so much more vulnerable. She allows herself to become so much more vulnerable, which I think is just beautiful for her character, like showing so much about her growth. Yeah.
Anyway, 10.
Yeah.
Why is Coulson the best in season 5? Why do you believe that?
Why do I believe it? Probably because it best sort of explores like his, I guess like his sort of not so explored. That's a fucking good sense. It explores is not so explored. Yeah, I'm fucking smart.
What does it
It
explore
goes
to?
into his more like deep-seated regrets, I guess, is sort of like and like how he's sort of like kind of coping with the fact that he he's gonna die and he doesn't want them to save him or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Like going to like I said before, like this is why like I love stories about characters who know they're gonna die. It's like the moral sort of question of should we save him, and like he stands his ground. He doesn't want them to bring him back because he's already been through that, and he was on the operating table saying, "Let me die."
Mm-hmm.
It's like it's going through like how like it's already established that he doesn't want to be brought back because he would know like his thoughts on being brought back, and like uh, he feels like this is probably the best time to like go for him, I guess. Like
Go out on his own terms.
yeah, on his own terms. Like he's like a peaceful death, not like being stabbed through the gut by Loki, but just a peaceful death. And like as you eventually get, it's with May, and it's like after a few weeks, which is nice.
Mm-hmm.
It's like it give. I guess like it's for a number of reasons that's the best for me. Like, is it gives him like a peaceful conclusion. There's like a nice, satisfying little peaceful conclusion from it. Also, throughout the season goes through his deep-seated regrets and then, like his. I'm struggling to think of what else it like goes into in the season because like it's been a hot minute since I've watched it, but
I watched it recently. It does have like I think not only his regrets, but kind of like I think which was we were talking about the scene with Mike in the 100th episode. Kind of seeing how he his biggest fear, not his biggest regret, but his biggest fear is that none of this was real. None of the connections he's made are like, you know, come to fruition. I guess they have that he has everything that he's faced so far has all been inside his head, um, and he can't believe that all he has achieved, that he has actually like that family that he's always wanted. Uh, which I think is quite an interesting exploration of his character, because that wasn't like something that we saw before then. His fear of none of that being real, but especially after the, you know, the framework stuff, it's like that would be a question that might pop up in his head, and especially him being the one who went through, you know, that stuff with the dark code, not the dark code, with his stuff with that stuff with being, you know, stabbed through the fucking heart. Him questioning it feels quite like a natural exploration of where his character would have, you know, gone after all this. So I don't know if it's more like he's exploring his regrets, or more exploring like his um fears of not having done anything with his life, not having actually like fulfilled his purpose to save the world, which is obviously
So
bullshit, because he did that, as we know in Avengers 2012 when he did sacrifice himself.
that's actually foreshadowed to him not knowing because in the beginning of season 5, he doesn't think they travel to the future. He's like, "Oh, this is the framework again."
Oh yeah, that's true. I hadn't thought of
So
that. That's a good point.
so we just I covered a nice little detail about the show.
Yeah, that's a point. I hadn't thought of that. It's really good, actually.
Well done, show. You keep doing this.
Yeah, this show with foreshadowing is just beautiful. The way it does foreshadowing.
1001 is actually best Marvel thing. Even if you were serious, truthfully, no, nowhere near. It's not
I
Agents of
love
Shield.
Tazamon, but no. Yeah. Um. So we went Costa. Daisy. What's her best season?
Daisy's the tough one because Daisy gets a lot of highlights throughout the show. She's kind of like the audience surrogate. Hmm. I want to go. It's either 2 or 3, I think,
I.
for me.
Oh yeah, because 3 is Lincoln and what's his face, the
Yeah.
Hive. So that's a good point. I was thinking more 1 and 2, but that's a good point. Yeah.
I want to go with 2 because I think it deals with the most with a completely new identity to the Inhuman powers, a parent.
Yeah, having met her
Um,
fucking dad and him being a murderer, I think it's quite a lot to unpack about her character, because her entire character, like her entire search for it, identity has come from her parents. She joined Shield because she wants to find out more about her parents. So yeah.
yeah, I'm content in saying 2. Not to say because it makes it sound like Daisy doesn't get good later on. Don't worry.
Oh no, she's
It's
fantastic.
like she is in the top 3 characters for me. It's just that 2 gives her the most material to work with, and she kind of knocks out of the park. Like there's so much going on for her. Every episode is kind of like a Daisy focus episode because in the early season of Agents of Shield, the focus was on the mystery of who is Daisy, who is Sky at the time,
Mhm.
what's her origins, why her parents so dangerous, and then she becomes an Inhuman, and things start to piece together, and it's really well handled. Especially have to pick between 2 families and dealing with the allegories that the Inhuman storyline has in typical bigotry, and how Shield suddenly treats her differently because she's an Inhuman now.
Yeah, I think one of the most impactful scenes in that sense is when Daisy's in the containment pod, and Gemma is like, "Oh yeah, no, that like she says, you know, it's inhuman, like what, you know, Inhumans are, because she hadn't heard the word, and it like seems so she's so disgusted with like the powers and that kind of idea of just like, you know, being different and having these supernatural abilities, and I think it's just like you can see the expression on Daisy's face. It's just like, fuck, I can't talk to anyone about this. And obviously, I also think it's brilliant to have Fitz be the one who finds it, right? Finds out, and then he
Yes.
hides it. Just like, yeah, very in character for Fitz because he thinks he's the odd one out. Especially because of his dealing with his brain damage from season 1. So I think it's just like a very natural way to take his character and make him and Daisy have like more, I guess, to deal with each other. I think it works really well.
Which gets flipped on its head later on. Because his age is a shield. It's very good at that. It's weird because Daisy's so consistently good that it's just season 2 gives. If you gave like her more to do in later seasons, even though she gets a lot to do, it would be those. She's very consistent. It's just the abundance that makes a difference.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's just the
Um,
seasons that she gets, like, I guess, more time compared to other characters. But it's not like she's bad in the other seasons. I think especially season 7 of the later seasons does a lot for her character because of introducing her sister.
yes, I mean, yeah, it's quite hard as well to say a lot on because with Coulson you can say a lot about him dying. Daisy, it's kind of like there's so much on the going, and it's like she's discovering herself basically, and you're discovering her with it, and how these threads will change the course for the rest of the show. These are the foundations for it, and the fact that it has to nail these foundations so well, so we could get season 3 with Lincoln and Hive, so we get season 4 where she becomes an outcast and slowly makes her way back into the team. Yeah, it's really good stuff. I'm really happy with season 2. What about you, Sky, Tin, or Zod?
I'll go because why not? I haven't been here for the past few minutes, so I haven't heard like all the points being made. But we're talking about best Daisy season, aren't we?
Yes.
Yeah, right. Yeah, that is difficult because, as you say, there's just a lot for her just consistently throughout the show. Like season 1, you're just sort of starting to learn who she is. Season 2, you've got quite a lot in season 2, like becoming an Inhuman, plus the stuff with her parents. Season 3, you have like Lincoln. In season 4, you've got her sort of dealing with what happened to Lincoln and her still recovering from her being affected by Hive. Yeah, it's just consistent throughout the show. There's always something going on there. She's never like. That's why it's difficult to pick. Like, I think for her more than any of the others, it's hard to nail down one season where it's like, yeah, this is her season.
Mm-hmm.
But I do sort of lean towards season 2, maybe, mainly just because of. I think it's been mentioned, but just the whole thing of her first becoming an Inhuman and how like the rest of Shield deals with that as well. And like I said before, just everything with her parents, like her grappling with her loyalty between her mother and the was it Afterlife?
Yes.
Yeah, there, and also with Shield, which is just because that's just an interesting conflict to have. Like her birth mother, and this new camp of people who are accepting of her new powers versus Shield, which is like a whole other family to her, but at the same time, they've not been great at accepting her new powers and who she's becoming. But yeah, it's a really well handled conflict. Plus everything with her dad too, and how all that ends. It's just
Oh,
it's,
yeah. And
it's excellent stuff.
Kyle MacLachlan, just I think one of the best actors to work on Agents of Shield. I think his performance as Daisy's dad is just brilliant. Jenny
Yeah.
thinks it's one of the best things about the show.
Yeah, I love him in that. He's just awesome.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I'm gonna have to say season 2 just for all those reasons. There's just a lot.
Yeah,
in that
Jab,
season
it's
in
gonna be very
particular.
contentious, right? I can see how contentious it's gonna be.
I was expecting it to get contentious with Daisy, but I guess not.
Yeah. Has Tin already answered?
No,
Not yet.
it was just odd.
All right,
Wonder
Tin,
what she'll
it's
say.
your moment to shine.
Now I'm gonna have a completely different hot take here, but
Oh,
I'm gonna
no.
say
yeah.
season 2
Oh man,
Fuck's sake.
didn't expect
Oh
that.
wow.
for basically the same reasons as everyone else.
I was gonna say maybe we should just say which season and then we try to explain why. Because if it's just the same seasons, then Tin and Zod just not gonna have that much to say after we just say it.
Because I've agreed with every single thing you've said in the past hour.
Oh well.
At this point, it feels like I'm leeching off your opinions.
You always do, to be fair.
Yeah, both of you do. Jeb and I are the only ones who actually have opinions. You're just copying it.
I didn't even hear most of what was said for the last couple of minutes, so this is all off my own back. So.
I think you're lying.
I think you're lying. I think you're
wow.
muted to pay more attention. I don't know how that works, but yeah.
Yeah, that's definitely how it works. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, anyway, yeah, Daisy season 2, I guess, is the consensus because yeah, she's phenomenal in that season with the Inhumans subplot and her dad and her mom. It's great. And I also love how Jain comes back in season 7.
7.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think
And 5, technically.
Oh yeah, fuck! I was trying to remember when. I was like, oh yeah, they do. Daisy does indeed dig up her mom, and get a sample of her DNA. That's a scene. But yeah, okay. What character should be next, Jeff?
Simmons.
I thought you'd say Fitz. All right, Simmons. Ooh, that's an interesting one. I have no clue.
4.
Huh.
I think 4.
I think 6.
See, now we have a contention.
Woo! 10. What do you think? Which season?
Best Simmons season. See, because I really liked her in season 4 when she was starting to come, when she came more into her own. But there's more character work in some of the other seasons, like in season 5. And I think I might go with season 4.
Damn, taking the wrong side. That's fine. It's fine. Zod, what about you? What season?
My problem is I've only seen 6 and 7 once, and I don't have a strong memory of them. But Simmons is a difficult one. I think, based on what I remember, I think it is between 6 and 4.
Mm.
But I think just solely because I remember season 4 better, I'll have to say 4.
Okay. Oh, that's
Ooh,
right. I'm
outlier.
the only right one. That's fine. Don't worry.
No. 6 is close, but no.
Dude, 6, she has to deal with her Fitz being dead and having to go looking for the other Fitz.
If all she has to do with her Fitz being basically a Hitler.
Well, yeah. Yeah, that's a good point. But still.
On the grand scale of having to deal with your partner, one is you have to look for basically a duplicate of them, and one is they're a dictator.
Well, I think those are the extremes. That both the two extremes you could explore.
Which one is more emotionally taxing? I'm pretty sure the dictator one would take that one up.
I don't.
No,
Her husband died. I think that's a bit This is quite a bit,
I think,
quite a lot. And she
yeah, I
spent
think
like a
that guy,
year looking for him without like basically any leads until they finally.
She
Yeah.
can get a new one.
She can get a
It
new
looks-
one. I do love though how they do like acknowledge the fact that this fits is like from before
Like-
the events of season 5. I think it does quite a bit to like show the impact of him dying. But
I can defend 4 really well.
yeah, go on, Jeff.
So, the reason why season 4 edges it is because up until that point, we didn't. A lot of the focus was on Fitz and what he means to Gemma more so than Gemma, and what Gemma means to Fitz, and instead of Gemma and what Fitz means to Gemma.
Mhm.
And the reason is because Fitz had a lot for him, and we had like Gemma going off on an assignment and all that jazz. This season is the first like proper development into Gemma's mindset, her being fully independent pretty much, and seeing her truly without Fitz for a longer period of time,
Mhm.
like in terms of what we could see, because we had one episode dedicated to that. And we also get to see what it's like for Gemma to save Fitz this time. And all of it's done extremely well. And we get parallels all the way back to season 1, where she does the same scream when Fitz is almost going to die. We also got her have to get beat by that Fitz, take a gunshot by that Fitz, and still stay hopeful. And I'm like, that says so much about her character. We have to deal with her and the consequence of it immediately after. The scene where Fitz is breaking down, where she's scared that she's gonna lose Fitz, the whole LMD stuff, the whole dealing with her new role as Shield is like constant for Gemma, all these challenges. And you see the best aspects of her within it all the way through. Well, I think without that season, we wouldn't get a season 6 strong as it was.
Mhm.
So that's why I go for 4.
I just remember, I think it's weird nobody mentioned 3, considering like the best, arguably the
Yes.
best episode of the show is like a Simmons episode, the 4,720 22 hours.
Yes, that's
Where she,
excellent.
yeah, because she's stranded in the Salian planet. She has to survive with herself, and I do love how she, has these recordings that she does talking to Fitz, and then even as her battery depletes and she stops doing the recording, she still talks to Fitz as if he's like present with her, as her way of dealing and understanding what's going on around her. But anyway, nobody mentioned season 3, so fuck me, I guess.
I did. I mentioned
No,
season
you
3.
mentioned there's an episode. You didn't say
Yes.
season 3 is. Nobody
Because
says
I-
season 3 is the best. I'm like, there's an argument to be made there.
Because the issue with season 3
And that's also
is
season 3 is when they get together, right? So
yeah, but I think the issue with season 3 is that season 4 to 6, that period is so good for her.
mhm.
It's like season 3 is where it gets started. I don't know. Also, Ages of Shield over Kung Fu Panda 2, and I love Kung Fu Panda 2. So,
Yeah, but it's not better than Rango because Rango is better than Kung Fu Panda 2, as we all know.
angry. Now, you gotta make a case for season 6.
I do actually make a case for season 6. So obviously, after season 5 ended, Girl Fitz died. Like, man, how would that affect Gemma? Obviously, she's gonna be affected. But like, the season ends and Kosan's like, I have no doubt you're gonna find Fitz. Like, yeah, there's the other Fitz. It's gonna be fine. But then we get the fact that Fitz, trying to find that other Fitz, they have been traveling for a year. The entire crew has left the ship except for Davis, Piper, and Daisy. And it's like, man, fucking hell. Like they've spent a year and they're not really that much closer to finding it. And then Gemma's like, no, I can feel it. I can feel they were closer. You can see how like she's starting to lose her faith, and that's something that's very much unlike her. She's a character who always is like the thing to bring Fitz back, because Fitz is quite pessimistic. Not in the sense that he's like unreasonably pessimistic, but I think he finds comfort in maybe not comfort, but he's just expected so much of his life to be a disappointment, especially because I think of his father. She's always been the one to bring him back, to make him to make him realize, like, no, it's not all doom and gloom. And that's I think as well what we get in that scene at the bottom of the ocean in season 1, which I think that scene is genuinely one of the best scenes in TV. And then when we get to season 6, she's starting to lose hope, and then boom, we see Fitz get taken, and then we get Enoch with them. It's like, oh shit, we actually were close, but Fitz was just taken again. And like Fitz, Gemma's like, because we had quite a big exploration before on how Gemma was like, I'm sorry, but I have to do this because of how much Fitz means to her, of just like using their remaining fuel to go to this planet instead of returning home, trying to Earth, and I guess touch base, just be able to like get their energy back to go back to looking for Fitz. That's like a very like character defining moment. It's like I can completely understand why she would do this, and Fitz means so much to her. Like they keep being separated, and Fitz says like that they're cursed. And then we have the episode later in the season where they're finally back and they're trapped inside their own minds, basically this astral plane kind of thing, by the Chronicoms, and we get like a really, really, really good exploration of her past, of how she's been told by her, I think it's her dad, she just get when she gets bad feelings, just put them inside this little box and then put the little box away. And then that has become like this big looming like darkness over her life, the same way that Fitz has the doctor. She has that like big monster, big Gemma monster, that is like basically her biggest fears. I think that's kind of recontextualizes her being like the person to ground Fitz, because I think it's just like she doesn't want to show emotion. That's something as well that we see in season 1, when Daisy is shot, that she's trying to hold her own and try to be confident, but then when she goes into the room and tries to wash her hands from Daisy's blood, she starts breaking down, crying, and Fitz just comes in and comforts her, just hugs her. It's like the one of the first moments where we see Gemma being like actually like vulnerable, because she's not usually like a very vulnerable person. She doesn't want you like be in touch with her emotions, and I think it fits really well that Fitz is also not very in touch with his emotions, because of his relationship with his dad, which kind of causes like the two of them to take so long to get together, even though everyone knew they were in love with each other. And so like that, like, I think recontextualizes like the reasoning behind her being that way, behind being like someone who doesn't want to share her emotions so much, and trying to have a positive outlook on life despite what she actually might believe, which I think works really well as just her dealing with her issues with Fitz, because obviously Fitz is trying to hide that he's been seeing the doctor, he's been hearing the doctor, and trying to deal with like, yeah, there's this dark part of you, but I accept you the way you are, and we still love each other regardless of everything. And I think it's also like a hilarious and also really heartwarming scene when the doctor and Monster Gemma start fucking kissing, because of that, you can see how they love each other in every way. They can accept their each other's flaws, and they want to deal with them together, which I think is quite heartwarming. So something that we have seen before, like hinted at, it's like when it becomes like, I guess, explicit. So yeah, Gemma's really good season 6.
I don't think that beats my argument, because
You suck. Yeah.
because I think what lets season 6 down compared to 4 is towards the ending episodes, the focus kind of changes from Gemma.
Oh yeah, this season 6, I think it has some of the best scenes, but Gemma doesn't get that much because it's like, obviously there's the two main plots. There's the one with her in space and the one on Earth with the fake Coulson. So I think because it's that divided, I think she doesn't get like that much time. But I think the time she has is like some of the best character work she has in the entire show.
Yeah, it's weird because I think season 4 she gets so much time along with some of the best character work she'll get.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
So
I
think
could
it's
see
kinda
the
like
case
that
being made
balance.
for either season and even season 3, as I said, with her getting with Fitz, and obviously the how how she was stranded in a fucking desert planet for 4,722 hours. And I also feel like what season 3 does for her, especially uh that scene where they go have dinner, uh and she starts breaking down as well. I think it's just like it's so beautiful. um yeah, I don't know, there's a lot you can say about Gemma in those 3 seasons. Oh, every season there is, but I think those 3 especially.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I hope Tin and Zod has stuff to say.
Yeah. Maybe the next one we start with their reasoning and then we talk. It
Yes.
should be better. But yeah, do you guys have anything to say about Gemma in season 4, I guess? Try to convince me more than Jeb.
Okay, guess it's me then.
Sure.
Well, like I said, I can't say much about season 6, but season 4. Yeah, honestly, I don't even have much to add to what Jeb said, because I think he just summed it up pretty much in terms of how I feel.
Alrighty
That's why
then.
I was That's why I was kind of hoping Tim would go first, but guess not.
We'll learn our lesson from here.
Do you have anything to say, Tin, about season 4 Gemma?
Mm. Come on, Tin.
Come on, Tin, you can do it, baby, the way you're back in.
Tin is dead.
When you're ready.
Tin, are you here? I don't think she is. Okay.
Okay, so
I didn't expect that. Okay. Fucking alright. It's fine. It's fine. Okay. I guess people won't hear what Tina just say. She'd probably just say like, "Oh yeah, I agree with what Jeb said." So it's whatever. All right. Next character. We're gonna do Fitz finally.
Mac.
Oh, fuck you.
Because I want to say Fitz for like,
For
because
later.
Fitz, I think it's so obvious. So,
Well,
Mac.
I don't know if it's obvious because there's like, I think he's the best character in the MCU, right? So I think he's kind of like,
Yeah.
I think he has so much in every season that it could be hard to guess, but they're obviously like the main 2 seasons.
All right, we'll do Fitz. Okay. Fitz.
Okay.
Season 5.
Okay. I find it hard to choose between 5 and 4. Because obviously he is the Doctor in season 4, and in season 5 we're dealing with like the consequences of that. So it's kind of hard, I guess, to choose, at least for me. I think 5 edges it out.
Zod.
Well, yeah, I'm not going to give much of a disagreement here. Yeah, I'm going to say 5.
Cool.
10 if you're alive.
Her laptop still is probably lagging. So yeah, she's hearing us probably not. I don't know. Yeah, 5. Make her case, Zod. Why season 5?
Oh, me. Okay.
Yes, you.
Well, like I said, season 4 is like when the whole Doctor stuff starts, but I just prefer like seeing the fallout from it. Like, I think it's so well handled. Like, it's that one episode in particular that sticks out for me, where he's seeing the Doctor just like pretty much anywhere he goes, just talking to him and taunting him, and you're led to think that the Doctor's the one who's like he's back somehow and he's causing all this shit, but you realise that it is actually Fitz himself who's just hallucinating, essentially. And I think that's just so brilliantly done. Like, it's been said before earlier, like how his time as Doctor combined with his previous brain injury has led to him to develop this sort of personality disorder. And it's just something that's really well earned. and having how the rest of Shield handles that as well. All the other characters.
I think especially
It's-
Mac.
Yeah. Everyone sort of has their perspectives on it and sees it differently. But especially also how it affects Daisy too, because it's
Oh, yeah.
her that he hurts the most. And the thing that interests me most about it as well, like what he does to Daisy, is that he then goes on to say that he knows that it hurt her, but he doesn't even massively regret it.
Yeah, he
because
doesn't feel good. He doesn't regret it because he still thinks it's the right thing to do, which is just so good.
Yeah, because I feel like there are other shows that lean more towards that. Yeah, he'd feel bad and whatnot, but no, I just think that was a more unique way of taking it, and it's like, damn, it just goes to show the season 5 as a whole, in general, really, just what sort of tone it is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think
And
season 5 does that a lot with a lot of the characters because of how it's supposed to be like the last season. It has so many payoffs that you can kind of see like the conclusion of many things have been set up. So like I say, season 4 does it does like it has him as the Doctor, but then obviously seeing the fallout from that, like that's something that's quite interesting to see. I think more interesting even so, more I guess deeper on a character level.
yeah, because
Yeah.
the stakes are so high, and just tensions. Again, they're also just at an all-time high. So
Mm-hmm.
you get to see how each of the characters handle it, and with Fitz especially, with him also grappling with this disorder and still recovering from what it was in the framework, plus how that all works together with his relationship with Simmons,
Mm-hmm.
how she sort of
Yeah.
understands. It's
And
just
sorry, I keep wanting to interject. Sorry, go on.
it's just all it just fantastically comes together. I love it.
Yeah. What I wanted to mention was I think what it does with his relationship with Mac is quite brilliant because we've had season 2. Mac was the guy who kind of like got Fitz back on track. He's the one who you know, because he didn't know Fitz before. He only knew Fitz now that he had the brain damage that he had. He was had this slow stuff, and he wasn't babying Fitz. He was just like treating him fairly. And Fitz still like fucking massively intelligent, but obviously he's having a hard time due to his brain injury. And having him be the one who has to snap Fitz back into reality this season, of being the one who says like what you are now, it's not good. Like you have to become someone better. And obviously because Mac is kind of like the moral center of the team, which as Daisy even says later in the season when she tells Mac to become the director, which is also a fantastic payoff. I think it really showed, having him say that. I think it works really well, and having that be and that having that actually come true at the end, where Fitz sacrifices himself to basically save Robin's mom. And I also really love how when Fitz, they take the robo off of him, Fitz says like, "Oh, did they make it out? Are they are they alive?" It's like that's his first priority, and I think that's just beautiful for his character. And Mac just saying, "You did good, Turbo," and like acknowledging that he did, like, I guess, redeem himself in a way. He did become someone better. Regardless of what he's done, he's still a good person, and he's moved on. He's sacrificed himself to be able to save these people, and not really caring about what happens to him, knowing that he could die. I think that's really great. I don't know. I love that death scene for Fitz. Jab to you. Oh shit, 10. Are you alive?
Yes, I live.
Oh, neat. Okay, 10. What's the best season for Fitz?
Best season for Fitz. Huh. I'd have to say maybe. Well, maybe season 5, I guess, because like,
Wow,
How
what a hot take.
original.
Oh, God damn it.
has everyone been singing season 5 while I was gone?
Yeah, I was talking about
For
season 5
fuck's
just now.
sake.
Yeah. I did say season 4 is a close second, so I guess I'm the only one who didn't just say 5, so I'm the original one.
This entire stream is just us agreeing with ourselves.
With each
Well,
other, but yeah.
Sky said 6
With
for
ourselves.
Simmons.
Yeah, that was the only one where we disagreed so far. But anyway, yeah, it's in season 5 then. Why?
Well, I guess like for me, part of it's like because he has like because up to that point we known who Fitz is, like we've seen him like work for all the shit that's happened, but he's got really insurmountable odds where like he's got to fucking fix what is basically going on with them, all from the point of view of being in the past. Like,
Well, that's interesting because
in
I was
fact,
Zod and I talked more about when they were already back in the present, and when he was the doctor. But it's interesting that the first thing you mentioned is when they're in the future and he needs to save them because that's yeah. I just find that interesting. Sorry, go on.
because there was a pretty insurmountable odds, like having to basically fix what is basically, well, one sec. I'm guessing is I have to basically fix what is basically.
He's crying. She's crying, remembering his death.
Wasn't that funny, Jesus?
It's just so fun. He has to fix was basically like you sound like you were dying. It was hilarious. Anyway, he has to fix was basically
Basically, because like he says he's gonna fix this, and like that's basically their whole. I guess in like the first the first few episodes of season 5 when they're on the lighthouse and like their first sort of genuine bit of hope is a note from like 80 years ago saying Fitz will fix this,
uh-huh.
and like the fact that he just
He
goes
says I'm
straight
coming.
in with it and just like
Yeah.
I don't even know where I'm going with this point, but it's like I had a more coherent point in my mind. I think it must be the hay fever.
I imagine it's like the idea of having to save these characters from like being in the past
It's
and being
like
the only one in the past.
the
It kind
biggest
of
sort of thing he's had to go up against. It's like
yeah.
well, up to that point, of course, there's the whole time travel thing, which happens later, but like that's later, so it doesn't count.
Mhm.
Thanks,
But,
Sam.
like, here it's like, you know what? I'm just gonna move on to my next point because it's clear I'm talking out my fucking ass.
Amazing.
Articulate as always.
I think you should just have skip me because it's clear I have no clue what the fuck I'm talking about.
Well, Zod already talked, so now it would be Jeb, and then that means yeah.
Well, just say, what did you say? I need.
I need
You're not copying
pointers.
me.
Yeah.
This is going into a train wreck, then.
Well
The
done.
whole point is just your opinions. You can't just copy mine and say, yeah, that's my
I
opinion.
didn't hear you.
Well, but you're
Well, that's
asking
tough.
exactly. That's the point. Anyway, yeah, Jeb, you go then. I guess.
Yeah, I guess it's me who's probably going to be most articulate. But Bella, we will get to that. But anyway, so Fitz is. He's not my favourite character in fiction. He's in top 3. The Doctor's my favourite. So,
Cringe.
but this is because of this season and season top 3. I find this season the perfect encapsulation of Fitz as a character from across all the seasons. Even if from 6 and 7, this is the encapsulation. We get every single layer on display, and Ian fucking nails every bit of it. We've got season 1 across the 2 with the brain trauma coming back, but more severe. We got season 4 framework with the Doctor. Like you can see you got the Doctor and you got Fitz in the same room. You can see the clear polar opposites, but yet they're one and the same, and it's so well nailed in the writing and the dialogue, and how they eventually merge into one character, and that's Fitz now, and that's what he has to develop from. That's what Simmons has to accept. So well done. You got him. You got him having the weight of the world on his shoulders as always. Him and try and get them all back despite having no idea how, and it's kind of making him break down, which is a trigger into his mental snap. Then he waits 70
Oh yeah,
odd years.
He was locked up for months, right? That obviously didn't
Yes,
do any favors for his mental health.
and no one believed him,
Yep.
and he had no idea. And he was all alone with his head. So it's like, wow, this is really building. And then you got the 70 years just saving them all. And then he's got to work out a way to make sense of all the time travel and how to stop a loop from happening, whilst understanding if he fails, these people die, and it's all on him.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah,
that
because
leads
like
even
he
more.
has the weight of the world on his shoulders all the time, but this time it's like it's the
Yes,
actual entire world that's at stake.
exactly. And this leads more into his mental snap. And the way we get to that point, and then the aftermath, and his characterization where he's become cold and he's lost the kindness that you would have seen in like season 2. That moment when he dissects from Daisy is a polar opposite of season 2, and that's kind of the point.
Mm-hmm.
And it's done. That development's
Yeah,
done
it's like
so
I
well.
wouldn't have done this if I didn't know it would work. It's like, oh
Yeah,
shit, like he's actually gonna do it. It's really well done.
and then he sacrifices himself, and his first priority is everyone else. And you get finally at the end, you get Fitz back again, but he's this one's gone now. I think it's perfect. I think it's one of the best written characters in all of fiction this season alone. It's so good, and all these different character dynamics. Gemma siding with him, Yo-Yo siding with him, but Daisy, Mac going against him. May not trusting him, but also understanding. Coulson, Coulson. It's weird because he has the most distance from Coulson, but there's consequence because of that. He doesn't want that, but
Mm-hmm.
his mental snap's making it happen. Um, who else? Deke, his grandparent. He's a
His
grandparent now,
grandson.
and the interaction with his grandson that isn't living up to him, and how he's becoming like his father.
Oh yeah, I
Uh,
love. There's a moment where Deke is like, where Deke says that he never met his grandpa or whatever, but his mom always talked highly of him. Um, and then Deke just kind of says, yeah, but you're kind of a dick. Like, I'm kind of glad I never met you. It's kind of like a moment that also kind of works for Snap, Fitz out of it, because Deke is so much like Fitz, and that's kind of the point of that
yes,
season. And but having Deke kind of like be like, you're kind of a fucking cunt, really I think works really well, because Deke has been like at the savage world of having to like kill to survive, and Fitz, he's becoming like who Deke had to become, but Deke still is like a good person at heart. Like that's why he helped so many people, them so many times. Like all those heroic moments when they were in the future. So I think it works really well to have that, have Deke be kind of like part of what Snaps fits into, like wanting to better himself, as well as what I said about Mac earlier.
and him getting to marry Gemma as well. It's
Beautiful
just done
scene.
all so well.
Mhm.
Like, yeah, 10 out of 10. Fitz is a 10 out of 10 character in this. There's not one flaw I can find.
Yeah, Fitz is brilliant. Yeah, one of the best characters in fiction, easily.
Yes.
Uh, all right. So I guess we're done with Fitz. Who's next? Mac. You want to do Mac? What's the best
Yeah,
season for Mac, Chad?
4.
All right. Um. Hmm. There's obviously 6, where he's there's 7 after, especially after his parents ended up dying because of him in that other timeline. And having to deal with it with Deke with him, just brilliant. Oh, actually, before we do that, this is a question in chat I wanted to answer. How would you guys rank the AOS villains, both in terms of the show and in larger MCU? I don't think there's a single MCU villain that's better than like any Agents of Shield like overarching main villain.
What about Izel?
Hmm.
I think Ego's better than Izel.
Guess I would agree. Yeah, I guess Izel was the only one who'd be worse than one, and it'd be just Ego who's better. So yeah, and obviously that means Izel's like the worst of the villains. Uh, if I had to rank, probably Ada, Graviton, Robbie Zunko, um, Jia Ying, Hive.
Where's Grant Ward?
Oh, I don't think of him like as a overarching villain. He's just kind of like,
I do.
I think he's like an antagonist character, but I don't think he's like the main force against them. Like Hive is a main villain. Ward is just like a character who's, yeah. If you do consider him, then Ward would probably be first or second. I think I'd put I put Ward and then Ada. Yeah, Ward,
Would we
Ada.
say
Go ahead.
would we say Nathaniel Malik is over Ego as well? I don't think he is.
Wait, Nathaniel was in season 7. Nathaniel's great.
Yeah, but I don't think he's Ego level. I think he's just a bit below that, but better than Izel.
I don't know. I think he's really, really good. But I was thinking more of that season 7 would be the Chronicoms. But yeah, if it's because I think Nathaniel is better than the Chronicoms, and then if that's the case, then I would say Ego is also better than the Chronicoms as a whole.
If I had to rank Grant Ward top, because I classify Grant Ward as a villain. Second would be Graviton, then Ada. Graviton's only because the backstory with Talbot. So, fourth would be. Ooh, that's a tough one. High. Fifth would be Jai Ying. Six would be Gideon Malik. 7 would be Garrett. 8.
Would Cassius not make that list? Because Cassius is great.
Yeah, Cassius is this
Because
is
like
difficult.
it's very difficult because many seasons have like 2 like main arcs, right, in the first half and the second half. Because like there's a Robbie Zunko as well, which I think is just a really good character, and he's only in the first half of season 4. So,
It's very difficult.
yeah.
Yeah, Cassius shoots all the way out there, but I don't know where he goes.
Yeah, and he's
And then
really
you-
good, so I don't know. Because I remember when I first watched season 5, as it was airing, I was like, man, this is probably the best villain in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. I don't think that anymore, but he's really, really good.
Oh man, this is so tough. I don't know what to do with my life. There was someone else I was thinking of as well who's briefly a villain, but they're really good. When did they appear?
Huh?
Oh, I was counting the Doctor as a villain.
Oh, wouldn't it just
And
be Madam Hydra? Because she's controlling the Doctor by that point. I don't know if I count him as a villain.
yeah, it's really tough.
It's kind of like
Let's
say
say-
because I find it because it'd be like saying like Ward is the villain season 1 when it's like season 1 villain's Garrett, right? And
How
Ward's just
about this? We'll do the main villain, Count Ward as well, because he's a multi-season thing.
Sure.
So if I go by that, Ward at the top, Talbot, Ada, Cassius. But then Cassius is not a main season villain because that's Talbot.
Yeah, that'd
But
be
then
Talbot.
Cassius is a main season villain with Talbot.
I guess
We'll count Cassius as well.
then I guess Robbie Zanko would make the list as well.
Yeah, why not? Oh, this is difficult. Cassius, Jiaying. Daisy's dad was a villain for a long portion. So
Well, the thing is, I don't. Once we learn why he's done what he's done, I don't think he's a villain. It's like I said, is like Ward working for Garrett. He's just like a pawn, and then he finally has agency only in the finale when he stands up to Jiaying and kills her.
okay, we'll ignore him. Garrett would be sick. Nathaniel 7th. Bobby's uncle 8th. I didn't even include Hive or Gideon.
Yeah, and also I don't know. I think wait, what was the
So-
Celestial you said? Is Nathaniel
Huh?
and Robbie's uncle? I think Robbie's uncle is really good. Put Nathaniel over him. I think I wouldn't agree with that.
I don't think he gets. It's like Robbie's uncle's really good, but Nathaniel's like more developed over a prolonged period of time.
I don't know. I think Robbie's uncle gets a lot of development.
It's hard because again, like I forget, like Hive and Gideon Malik, they have to shoot up there.
Yeah.
Um,
As you can tell,
So-
the villains are very good, so it's hard. It's very hard.
to put it this way, the easy 3 and the easy worst. The easy worst is Izel. The easy best 3 is Grant, Talbot, and Ada in any order for those.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, I agree. And even Izel was easily the worst. I don't think she's a bad villain. I think she just doesn't really have all that much character compared to the others.
Oh, Daniel Whitehall's the villain as well. He's good, but he's not top 3. He's in there.
Yeah, Whitehall's brilliant. Yeah, I think you get the idea. It's hard to properly rank them. But yeah, the. So anyway, Mac. I was gonna decide a season, right? Let's see, because season 2 he has the stuff with Fitz, and then obviously the other shield, but I don't think that's his best. And then season 3, we have him obviously dealing with his brother, and then dealing with Bobby and Hunter leaving, which is one of the best scenes in the show is him crying about them leaving. We have I guess season 3 he doesn't really get that much compared to 4. Try to remember what else he has other than that episode with his brother. Don't remember if he has that much. Interesting. Season 4 he has some brilliant stuff. I think I'm gonna go with season 4 as well. Season 5, I think he actually is kind of underrated in that season because what he says about like losing themselves in the future, and then he ends up going back and Fitz the one losing himself, but he keeps his moral center, and then he becoming the director. There's a lot of really good character stuff coming from that. Because being the moral center of the group, he gets to spot like a lot of wisdom, which I think is really nice. And then season 6, we have him being director, which does do quite a lot for his character, especially like the fact that he wasn't with Yo-Yo anymore, and then have to comfort Yo-Yo once her boyfriend dies. And season 7 with all the stuff we already said, and yeah, I think I would say 4, but I think he actually is great every season he's in, all 6 seasons he's in. And I could see someone choosing 5 over 4. So yeah. 10 Zod. 10, you first. 10, are you here? All right. Okay. Zod.
Hey,
I think her computer is just not good today. Zod, what about you? What do you think?
massive difference it makes. Best season for Mac.
Come in. I got a cat with me.
Oh, nice.
Oh, well done.
It's a white
done.
one.
Giddy.
Oh, 10, you're alive.
No. Okay. Well,
I
go
don't
first
know
then.
what was going on. It just stopped working.
Yeah, best season for Mac, go.
Oh, best scene for Max. Season 4, easily.
All right, 10, no, you're Zod.
The Yeah, I'd say season 4 as well. I wouldn't say easily season 4, but
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I'd say season 4 overall.
Coolio. Then we agree.
3 again.
10. Why don't you go first? Because you've the one who's spoken the least today.
Oh, yeah. Right. So for why season 4 is the best Mac season, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Uh, in layman's terms, it's the framework arc with his daughter. That's like
In
that's the main
layman
reason for it.
Layman terms. I don't think you understand what that phrase means, which is quite funny considering what it actually means. Anyway.
No, I actually don't. I just wanted the fancy way of saying to sum it up. And to sum it up, I do not know what it means.
That's so funny. That's the most ironic use of in layman's terms I've ever heard. Anyway,
So-
yeah, the framework arc. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, but, like, wait, when is it first established that he had a daughter but he lost it? Was it
It was in
series?
season 4. After he became Ghost Rider, that tapped into like his grief, and then we see him next to the portal, and Ghost Rider approaches him, and Ghost Rider's like, "Yo, you ready to like get your revenge, or get your whatever?" Uh, and Mac's like, "Yeah, let's get your." And then next episode we have him like holding a photo of Hope, and then the next episode we have him talking to Yo Yo. I think the next episode is anyway. It's after that talking to Yo Yo and about how he was gonna meet his ex-wife, because it is his daughter's birthday. It would have been anyway.
All right, when it's first established that he has a daughter, and like that alone adds so much to his character. But like actually, like seeing what it'd be like for him as a dad, and how much his daughter really means to him, and how like he's willing to stay in what is effectively a collapsing universe just so he can spend some time with her. Like that does so much for his character, honestly. Like just simply thrown in one sort of little thing into his character, which being a daughter he had, it already does so much for his character, and using the framework to like actually explore and seeing like how much he really regrets not spending any time as a father, and like how much it honestly would have changed him, and how he has to like move past it after he leaves the framework, and now he has to sort of more or less accept his daughter's death more because he actually got some time with her, even if it was like kind of just a simulation.
Mm-hmm.
And how like he basically pushes through it because like the mission called for it, if I'm correct, right?
Wait. Well, what exactly you're saying?
Like seemed like he had to come to terms with it a bit more after he left the framework, right?
Yeah. Well, in season 5, we kind of see him talking to Yo Yo about it. With how he had a life with his daughter, and I think that's when he finally gets to terms with it. Is in season 5, that beginning.
That's well, yeah, I'm close enough in my math, which
It
is not
happens.
right.
It happens after the point where he beats up the guy who has. Happens after that point.
Oh yeah. Because
Fine.
he had a family, and then he's like, I don't want us to lose ourselves in here. So yeah, that's after it happens. Yeah.
Alright, yeah. Right, yeah, like it really just adds a lot to his character, and like it's why I really think that like that one particular arc adds so much to it, and actually makes him like maybe one of my favorite characters in the show.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, that's my
Mac.
reason.
I think Mac slowly becomes one of the best. Yeah. Zod. Do you have anything to add that Tim hasn't already said? Or maybe something that Tim has said. You can just steal her opinions. I don't care.
Well, she tried to do the same to me, so.
Exactly. Quid pro quo.
You're welcome.
Anyways, you have the floor.
Yeah, so well, it's been mentioned before, but he starts off as someone. he's sort of a mysterious person. He doesn't, like when we first meet him in season 2, he's very private. He never really talks about like anything outside of the job. Really, he very much keeps his private life to himself.
Yeah, especially
And
if he just basically only talks to Bobby on like a really real level because of the secret they're keeping, other than him talking to Fitz because of how he's the only one who can. Anyway, go on.
Yeah, so he's very private and he's very religious as well.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's quite an important aspect of who he is.
Yeah.
And so it's sort of like, as he sticks around more and more, you sort of start to want to get to know more about who he is, because he's the one you sort of end up knowing the least about out of everyone. So, right, well, what about you? What have you got? And well, first off, there's everything with his brother, like the relationship he has with him, and then you learn about the daughter, and suddenly things sort of get a bit more clear. Like you start to understand why he's, well, I suppose, a bit more secretive, because that's not really something he he enjoys talking about. That's something, it's quite a deep pain for him.
Mm-hmm.
And so you start to get this sort of deeper understanding of him, and you could have just left it with that detail, and you could have just left it there, and that still would have been enough to add to his character. But then you put him in the framework, and like you give him the chance, like you actually like see what his daughter would have been like had she survived, and it adds sort of another layer to the tragedy, because it's like it's not a short amount of time either. It's a few years. Like, it's enough to see her grow for quite a while.
Well, yeah, that's the interesting thing, because the framework has like memories from before, like they get inside, like they get like the memories of their entire lives exist, even though it's like running in real time, and so he does like remember, raising her. It's like fucking hell. What will that do to his mentality once he gets out? Once he loses her again.
Yeah, that's the fascinating part. It's like every second of every day of all those years, and he experiences it all and remembers it. It's like, damn, that's rough, especially when, like, I mentioned it before, but everything starts collapsing, and he still, because he learns that it's not even a real world, but he's still sort of trying to grapple with that for a while, but ultimately he decides he doesn't care. All he cares about is her, because as far as he's concerned, that she is real to him.
Mm-hmm.
That's what really matters to him. That as far as he's concerned, she's there. Like,
Yeah.
it doesn't matter whether she's programming or not. She's there. He's had all that time with her, so she's as real as she needs to be.
Yeah,
And
it's
so everything's.
I've been talking to Jeb about the nature of reality recently. It's kind of the point we've made. Anyway, go on.
Yeah, and everything starts to collapse, and his top priority is to keep her safe and reassure her and just get her home.
I also
And then you
love how when he is in that bit in the framework, when his the world's collapsing, he's still trying to help everyone, because that's just who he is. Like, he wants everyone to be safe, but he has like no destination. There's nothing he can do, and he has like a bit more knowledge than everyone else. But about like, oh, this world is fake. But he's still like, no, we're gonna get out of this. Like, he wants to save everyone, wants to help everyone. Which I think it's just like speaks a lot about his character.
Yeah, because all the other major characters are sort of, they've left now. So, and plus Mace is dead, so he's pretty much the only one who's really left who can sort of take control. And
Yeah, until Yo-Yo puts herself in the framework.
yeah, it's down to him to round everyone up and figure out what the next move's going to be and how to keep everyone safe.
Mm-hmm.
And it's quite great that we get that moment for him,
Mm-hmm.
especially since he a few seasons later he becomes the director.
Yes.
And
Well, one season later, but yes.
yeah, you know what I mean. And yeah, then you get this last scene where he decides to stay, knowing full well that even though it's not even like technically the real world, he's quite happy to just stayed so that he can get that extra little bit of time just to be with his daughter.
Mm-hmm.
You think that's worth it in this?
Yeah, and then she disappears right in front of him. Oof.
Yeah, that's just brutal.
Yeah. And
It
then
could easily have been.
Yo-Yo also says that she's gonna stay with him if he doesn't go. Which is also like, there's a lot Mac has to deal with after that.
Because it could easily have, like, Fate could have had it just the other way around. He could have ended up being the one to go first, and he'd have been fine with that because he'd have had that time with his daughter. But his daughter goes first, and he ultimately makes the choice that I'll leave.
Yeah,
and so he does, and then
it's just because there is a plot reason why he isn't the first to leave, because a Daisy was protecting like real people there, which is why Radcliffe is the last one to disappear. So everything else was disappearing, but stuff around and them, especially Mac and Yo-Yo, they would have lasted longer.
It's true, but as far as he's concerned, like
yeah,
just any moment could have been it for him.
Yeah,
and
he was content with that.
Yeah, but only after his daughter goes, he makes the choice to leave, and then he has to just all grapple with everything he's been through for like literal years with his daughter. And it's been said before, but in season 5, he talks about how that's okay because now he's had that time to be a father.
Yeah.
Which he didn't have before, and it just means so much to him.
Yeah, and it's just such a positive outlook he has, which is just like, if a different character wouldn't have that, but it's Mac. Like, we know Mac. He's the optimistic guy. He's the religious dude who's like always the moral center and looking for everyone to be their best. I think it's perfect that he has that positive outlook, that it works well for him, but that he also obviously has to deal with the fact that it's like it did scar him, like, psychologically, and then he gets afraid of losing himself because of, that's what I love about it. Is like he's such a good person, and he's doing what's necessary for them to survive, but it's like, is that really what I should be doing? Like this? Like hurting other people? Surely there's another way. And then he does find another way. By the end, we see him helping that family, the guy that he beat up. And it's just, yeah, man, really good character. Jeb, you haven't spoken about Mac. It's your turn. Unless you have something else to say, Zod. I don't know if I interrupted you.
No, sorry. You could easily say season 5 as well, to be fair, for Mac, but
yeah, well, I think, as I said, I think any season he's in, you could say it. I guess except Chew. I think Chew is the one he has the least. But yeah, every season from 3 to 7, he has a lot of character. Jeb, it's your turn. It's your time to shine. Hello.
So season 4, we all focus on the daughter part, and I'll get to that. But there's also another aspect I want to challenge, and that is the LMD uprising. Mac, throughout the show, has consistently been against robots because of his childhood. He was watching cult classic horrors featuring robots. So already we're putting this character in a position where he's got to deal with what he sees as horror. That is against everything he believes in, even just from a moral perspective. And for him to be ignored, for the people he cares about to hide things from him. And that's the position we go to before we even enter the framework. And already there's a lot to do there. There's a lot of interactions he has, especially with Fitz, Radcliffe. And that's really excellent. And then we obviously get to the framework. after learning about his daughter as well, and how that strained him and Yo-Yo because Yo-Yo thinks he's just not interested. So now we're into the framework, and we see him with his daughter. We see Mac. He clearly is against Hydra. He goes against all his beliefs, but he just wants his daughter safe, and that's his priority.
Mm-hmm.
And over the course of framework, we see his love for his daughter, his affection for her, but also to help others, to teach her to be a good person.
Yeah, I think the moral lessons he teaches are just like by being a good example is just so great because he's always like, I think as well. There's a few scenes where Hope is like, "Oh, you gotta go help him, Dad, because they need help." It's like, yeah, like she doesn't want to disappoint her. He wants you to be a good example for her, even though he knows he's putting himself in danger. So it's really great.
And it's like these scenes we get between them, dedicated, such as building stuff together. They're really heartfelt scenes. And this is scattered throughout the entire framework. Every single scene with Mac in the framework is very crucial to explain why he would literally die there.
Mm-hmm.
And to end in the tragedy that he's not only lost his daughter once at stillbirth and lost all that potential, he's also seen just a bit of that potential and he's lost it all over again.
Mm-hmm.
It's even worse so, and he has to exit out the framework out of his worst nightmare, caused by his other worst nightmare. And yet, despite that, he is still hopeful. He's still wanted to help, do the right thing. It's very spectacular. Whilst his arc doesn't change as much as it does at like Series 5 or even Series 7, the character work he gets within this small period of progression, it's unbelievable.
Mm-hmm.
It's why I value Season 4 over it, because the stuff he gets is some of the hardest stuff that a character has to deal with.
And he
And it
still comes
reveals
out
so
of
much
it
about
as a good person with a good heart, and that's kind of what I love about him talking to Fitz in season 5. I mean, like, what you are now isn't good, because it's like Mac has faced so much, and he's still like this brilliant person. So Mac is the
exactly.
best.
And I alluded to it earlier. The show is very good at tackling the difficult topics. This was the hardest topic to tackle because you're dealing with a dead child at birth,
Mm-hmm.
and it does perfectly.
Yeah, you're dealing with someone who would do anything to save people. He is the moral center of the show, and he's someone who would rather die than go back to the real world because of his daughter, and it still works perfectly within his character. It's like that is
And
so hard to do.
you've got to have the other characters try and justify why you shouldn't be with his daughter.
Yeah, it's like, how can you justify separating a father from his daughter? You can't, and yeah.
And without it being insensitive to the topic, it's
Yeah.
like Jesus Christ.
Yeah, and I think it
And it
works especially that, like, they can't win. Like, Yo-Yo just gives up and is like, I'm gonna stay with you then. Like, if there's nothing that's gonna separate you from her, there's nothing that's gonna separate me from you either. It's like, wow. It's really good. Yo-Yo is a really good character as well that we haven't mentioned much, but she's really good.
yes, we'll get to Yo-Yo, but yes.
Is that all we have to say on Mac?
I think it is. I think Max, one of those he's not like best character, but he's a backbone of the show.
Mm-hmm. I love how he came in and he became like the moral center. He's like, he's so good. Like, he becomes the director, and he's the character who didn't want to work for Coulson because he thought Coulson was a terrible director. Um, it's just that's just like, it's such good writing to get to that point like that, and you're like, that is so earned. Because I remember Daisy being like, I think Matt should be director. And I was so like, what? I did not expect that. But then, like, watching the show back, I'm like, dude, this is perfect choice.
And when you go from him not trusting Coulson to him using the black box just to speak to hologram Coulson.
Oh yeah, that he watches the the hologram Coulson in season 6 like all the time, like every morning. I think he says it's part of like his routine because he's afraid he's not gonna be as good a director as Coulson, and obviously May being the Chad that she is, being like, well, you're not gonna be the same director as Coulson. You're a different one, and that's okay. Like, you don't need to be as good as him. You don't need to be the same kind of director as him. You just have to be yourself, and that's good enough, which is also really really good.
10 out of 10 star. Ages of S.H.I.E.L.D. is good.
It is really good. Like, yeah, and I would just say like this is what I just cited is from season 6, which is I think Jeb and I agree it's the worst season of the show, and it's like that season has so much brilliant character work. It just has like a few shortcomings in terms of plot, and that's basically it. Like just one moment that's stupid with the yo-yo, and that's kind of it as in terms of like characters being out of character. It's really great. All right. So who's next? Did we say May?
Or Yo-Yo? We haven't said May.
So let's say May then. What do you think, Jeb? Which
Um,
season?
Oh, she's a tough one.
She's a very tough one.
Um,
I think which season you're gonna. I think I know which season you're gonna pick though.
It's gonna be 5 or 6. I'm gonna go with 5.
6. Interesting. Huh.
I said 5.
No,
I'm
yeah,
gonna go with
but yeah,
5.
but you said 5 or 6. That's not okay. All right.
The reason I say 5 or 6 because 6 has to deal with her seeing Sarge.
Oh yeah, of course. I get why. It just I did not expect that. I expected 5
Oh.
and 7. Because my pick is 7. My pick is season 7 for her.
Oh, well, yeah.
10. What do you think? May, which season?
This is gonna be the way. I'm just gonna say it. I have a 6 or 7. That's my sort of general pick for it.
You can't pick one between the two?
It's just like because like 6 has her singing Sarge, and it's fresh off everything with Coulson, and like, but also season 7 also has the fact that she's turned into basically an empath, and like she's finally opening up emotionally again, and like I think if you had to make us pick between one, I'd go with 6.
All right. So that's 3 different choices. All right. That's interesting. Zahn, which season for Agent Melinda May?
Well, it's not going to be 4 different choices, I'll tell you that. I think. I might say season 5.
Now, of course, you're copying Jab's opinion. That's fine. It's okay.
No, of course.
Yeah. All right. Then I guess Azan, you go first, because otherwise Jab's gonna speak over you. So yeah. Why season 5?
Because it's mainly because of how season 5 as a whole is all structured with like all the various different character conflicts, and like there's a lot about how May fits into all this. It's like Coulson, like when he's dying, and like her perspective on it, like she's one of those ones who's like trying to prevent it. Like she does not.
She breaks the vial, right? When they're having the discussion about what to do. Yeah, that moment is also fantastic.
Yeah, that's sort of like the peak moment where it's like, yeah, she desperately does not want this to happen because, well, Tim sort of said it, but she's not very sort of she's not very open with her emotions. Like it's not something. More so than Max, she's a very closed off person.
Oh yeah,
that's mainly since Bahrain.
Yeah,
and Coulson's been there for her even since before Bahrain. Like he's always been like the person that's closest to her, and so like she's been realizing over time just how much she truly cares for him. And
the same for her caring for him as well. Just real quick interjection, but I said I watched the season 1 episodes that have audio commentary recently. the one of the episodes was Tracks, the episode of the train. And in that episode, because during that time she was having sex with a Ward. And it's quite interesting because that episode has the moment where she's hurt, and she, it's Coulson being the one who, cleaning her wounds and kind of helping her out. And they have a very intimate moment in terms of like their characters, and it's quite interesting because even though she was sleeping with Ward, she had a very deep connection with Coulson, and that's something that they wanted to highlight. And they said that in the commentary that it's quite important to see like the connection with Ward was very physical, but she is intimate with Coulson, and she can kind of share more of herself with him. And I think it's interesting just that that's been present since season 1, I guess. And that it's all like this slow build up until when we get to season 5 and they do get together, it feels earned. But anyway, sorry.
Yeah, that's the thing. Just across the show, this connection between them two has been very slowly built up. Like we've had these flashbacks of them, of their time, how they've interacted. But there was one.
There was in season 4, that episode where they find the Russians, that Russian guy's base, Ivanov.
Yeah, that's the one.
Yeah, I knew. I was thinking of it as well when you're talking. So yeah.
Yeah, that's the main one to go to because you just see like just how well they've worked together, just the chemistry they've had just ever since the earliest days.
Mm-hmm.
It's wonderful to see, and obviously there's that moment where Coulson's left to believe that May's just gone off on the mission without him, but she comes back for him, and it's just one of those moments where it's clear what it's sort of building up to.
Mm-hmm.
And then again in Bahrain, like before it all happens, he's there at her house and again you just see this chemistry between them.
So yeah, he's the one who comforts her after it, and it's a scene that's cited in season 1, but it shows us a flashback. Is it season 2 that it shows up? Because I think so, because the child wasn't human, so I think it was in season 2, where we see the flashback of Coulson trying to comfort her after it and everything.
That's right, because it's the same time Jai-Ying's explaining it as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say as well. Just like after May goes for just the roughest day she's had on the job, Coulson's just immediately there to comfort her in the first one, and it's wonderful. Like even like when she's getting more distant with her husband, she's still tries to keep that close connection with Coulson.
Yeah, Coulson is the connection she kept even when she couldn't talk to her husband, even when she couldn't figure out how to be with her husband. Very important.
Yeah, and she's the one assigned to look after, like keep an eye on Coulson after Tahiti as well. And but of all the people, like it had to be her because she's the one. Because again, she's one of the closest connection to.
Yeah.
And so you get all these elements across the entire show, and then season 5 is where it all really pays off. They finally get them together, and now May's faced with losing him, and he's refusing to be saved essentially because he knows what it means if he's saved.
Yeah.
And so, like she can't handle that. Like, even if it means putting the world at risk, she just can't face losing him.
Yeah, that's what she says about not giving up. He should need to keep fighting.
Yeah, she just can't face that after all the time they've had together, and all that time they could have spent, together in a relationship, but just haven't had, and now they're going to lose that time forever. And yeah, she just can't handle that. But ultimately, it happens, and she ultimately spends his last time, whatever time he has left, with him in tea, so she gets those last few days or weeks of him.
Mhm.
And it's just that perfect payoff to their relationship, and yeah, just that relationship them two share is one of the bigger parts of the show overall. And it's quite a big part of her character. And season 5 just pays that off so well. I don't know, I just feel like that's what elevates that season for her above all the others.
All right. Jeb, would you agree?
Hello.
Hello.
Yes. I think May in season 5 is best May you'll get. Mainly because, again, you see many layers to us. In the future, you see how motherly she could be. There's quite a deviation from May, who's very closed off. Doesn't tend to be around children due to her trauma. Can't open up, but yet she's raising this child that's not even hers, and she's doing it excellently to the point where she's allowing the child to call her her mother.
Mhm.
And how even present May sees older. What's her name? Begins with P. Polly. Is it Polly?
Yeah.
Older Polly die and still acts as motherly as she does.
Oh wait, you're talking about the
Excellent.
child? Because the child's named Robin. Polly's the mom.
Robin, older Robin,
Mhm.
get killed, and it's still an excellent scene in its own right. Because it's not something you expect of May, but yet she delivers it so well. And then you have the whole dealing with Coulson dying, deal with her feelings for Coulson, and that progressing over the show, and you see all the aspects of May there, and how her voice comes across, and how she ultimately makes a decision and it all, and then she has to say goodbye. I just think there's a lot there for May, and it explores all her different aspects. Season 7 does it as well, but I don't know. I think the motherly aspect of season 5 is what edges it out, because season 7 doesn't have that as such. It has a different take on it. I'm really happy with Maid season 5.
Me too. Is that what I'd say?
Yeah, I mean, Zod said a lot. Zod kind of summed up quite well.
Oh
So,
wow, Zod talked
yeah.
over Jeb. That's unheard of.
It really is, yeah.
Yeah. So 10, season 6. Why?
Well, like I explained, it's basically everything with Sarge is probably my main reasoning with how, like, how she's forced to effectively go up against someone who looks just like the man she loved and the person she watched die, like not like a year ago.
Mm-hmm.
And she's forced to contemplate whether or not it could actually be him in like another form, or if she'll have to kill him either way, or if it's just something that's using his face as like a way to get to them all, like, and she has to go for all that in and like accept that she has to go through all that and sort of slowly come to the acceptance that it's not him, and that she has to basically kill someone who has his face,
Mm-hmm.
which is pretty freaking heavy. Like, it's not like in season 5 at least she had to like she had to come to terms with the fact that Coulson was dying, and like there was nothing she could do about it because he wanted it. Like he wanted it. Whereas here, it's not so much she doesn't know. She doesn't know what's going on, or like how any of it's happening now. Like she has to basically come to all these assumptions by herself, and even then, like there's always a possibility. So
Yeah,
like
I think especially there's that scene where she's in Sarge's truck. She's I think she's the one who's driving it, and she looks to Sarge, and Sarge is like the way he's sitting and everything. It reminds her of a moment when they were in Tahiti, one of Coulson's last moments. And I think it just like in her mind, she doesn't know if she can trust herself to be objective in the situation, which is
Basically, yeah, like,
quite different for her as a character when she's the one who's usually like the objective, emotionless one.
yeah, it's like, yeah, I think that's like, because this is like the big sort of like, because like with Robin, that was more or less just like a bit of like an emotional shake-up, as she was a lot more motherly and like, but here it's like a full-on emotional fucking punch to her, as like as she's questioning everything she's gonna do with Sarge, and like if she can trust him, or if she can even trust herself to actually even trust him. It's like a complete clusterfuck in terms of emotions for her in that
Hmm.
season.
Yeah,
That's my main reason. Yeah.
that's fair. I personally feel like season 7 is her best because of the fact that she died and she was brought back. She, she lost not sure call it. She basically lost all of her emotions, and the way she slowly gains it back is because she becomes an empath and she starts feeling other people's emotions. And I think it's quite interesting for her character, someone who's so closed off, to become the person who's like, you know, having those emotions, to share those emotions with people, and being that being the way that she basically they win the day in season 7, uh, because she blasts the Chronocoms with empathy, and that's how they win. It's kind of like the one character who's always been so closed off finally opening herself, and I think it works quite well once we have that scene with her and Yo-Yo, because they both were characters who like didn't want to open themselves up to each other, didn't want to share these emotional like kind of shit, these feelings with each other, but it's they have to if they want to get better, both of them. And to do so, they because Yo-Yo had by that point lost her speed because she couldn't run anymore, and May, who by that point wasn't feeling things properly, but she never liked someone to share feelings. They have people share their feelings with her, but so they're kind of forcing that into that situation where they kind of have to accept to do that. And when they do, you get a lot of character from them and learning about May and Yo-Yo, and how they learn to get past these things. And I also think it's quite interesting because it's established in season 5, when after she May spawns inside the fucking pipe, and she hurts her leg quite badly, and then after they get back, Daisy says to Coulson like, yeah, May's getting older, she's not as good in the field, and that's just a fact we're gonna have to address. And it's quite interesting that that's established then, because then by the end of season 7 we have May be, being a professor in the Neo Shield Academy, which I think works really well for her to pass down her wisdom after so long, because she has been sort of a motherly figure to Daisy, especially to the entire team, as someone who knows, who has experience in basically everything, um everything they're going through, both emotionally and just like on a uh on a like field level of teaching. Like she was a Sky's a superior officer after Ward betrayed them, and so that stuff. So having her become a professor, I think, does quite a lot for her character, knowing like she's still fighting, but she's not fighting in the same way that she could before, because of she's getting old. And I do like the fact the show addresses that, because she wouldn't be the same fighter she was in season 1. It's been 7 years, quite a long time. So addressing that, I feel like does quite well to have her continuing to be someone who is still doing, like, fighting the good fight, doing the thing that she wants to do, but she's doing it on a capacity that she can actually handle, rather than putting her life at risk on the same capacity that she used to before. Um, because she may used to be quite reckless, but she learns that she didn't, like, basically she kind of hated herself. She's like, I don't care if I die as long as I get the job done. But then after a point, it becomes that she doesn't actually want that. She doesn't want you to lose people. She doesn't want you, die anymore. She has found stuff that's worth living for, and especially with Coulson, and just the entire team. And yeah, I don't know. I think season 7 doing that, like that payoff, especially of her being a professor, is the biggest reason why I think season 7 is her best, as well as exploring her, because she has lost shit, because she's lost her feelings, or her ability to feel, and she becomes an empath. Like there's a lot there that is explored. Shit, that is explored. Um, I could say more if I had recently rewatched season 5. Currently, I'm in the middle of rewatching season 6. So, yeah, but I still remember that season being her best. Um, I'm gonna drink water now because I'm very, my throat hurts a lot. Jeb, what character's next?
Yo-Yo.
Hmm.
So Yo-Yo for me is quite obvious. It's 7.
Yeah, 7
I
for
don't
me as
think
well.
it. I don't think it's a contest because that's the one where she gets the most character.
Yeah. 10 Zod.
Yeah, 7 easily.
Zod.
I'd say so. I'd say so as well. Yeah, but I can't remember it well enough to give like specific reasons.
All right. Jeb, why don't you go first this time?
Yeah. So Yo-Yo was introduced in. Was it 4 or was it 3? I
No, it
think it's
was
4.
in. It was in
3,
season
I think.
3 because they had the team. Remember, she was part of Daisy's special Inhumans team to take off Hive.
Oh yeah. So yeah. So she was introduced season 3,
Yeah, season
and
4 is when she season 4 is when she becomes part of the team. In season 3, she's just like a guest star. In like 3 or 4 episodes.
okay. So season 3 we kind of get introduction to her, but not much. Season 4 we get a bit more. She does get a lot to do in season 5 in the sense that she is the one that kind of understands her position and what the reality is, but she's the only one that's not being listened to except when Gemma and Fitz come along. So that's an interesting thing. And season 6 is also interesting with her and Mac. But I just think 7 is. I don't think you could be. Yeah, you got her origins, like her guilt, what motivates her to be a hero, um, and you got why she can't run being tied into that, and then how she overcomes her limitation that she's had all this time,
Yeah.
and her own self-doubt, and she ends up believing herself, her being closer with Mac, her reconciling with May. I don't know. It kind of feels like really obvious because it's the most they give to her,
Yeah, we
rather
learned the
than
most about
5.
her in season 7 because of, her losing her powers and having to overcome that. No, she doesn't lose them. She just gets, stuck. Because
Yeah, the
of
close.
like PTSD of basically dying in the previous season.
The closest we get is season 5 when her arms get cut off.
Yeah, well, I think season 5 it would be like the second choice because not only of her arms
Yes.
being cut off, but also just before that when we see like future Yo-Yo, and then obviously the way that it explores like Mac and Yo-Yo in the future and how Mac was like scared of them losing themselves, and then Yo-Yo as the season goes on he thinks she is losing herself, but then at the end when this vial is smashed, they still like there's that moment where Mac is sitting on the floor and Yo-Yo just comes along and they just hug and they don't say anything. It's like kind of accepting that this year they've lost themselves in a way. It's like it's been too much, but they still love each other. So I do feel like season 5 she has a lot, but I would agree season 7 is their best.
Yeah, that's kind of where I'm at. Season 4, a good one in the sense how she supports Mac, but then season 6, I think, beats 4.
Yeah. Um, 45 episodes later, Jab still has a shitty mic. Well,
Who
soon
said who
for
said this?
strike. In
Fuck you.
in ECUM 50, Jeb is gonna get like the best microphone. Don't worry.
Yeah, sure.
You still haven't fucking gotten a computer to help edit ECUM. I feel like that's this just personally want to hurt me emotionally. But anyway, yeah, no, I think season 7 as well. uh, I think her losing her ability to use her powers because of like something emotional, just to being like PTSD basically, and then having to overcome that by learning that she had been all this time she had been holding herself back. I feel like that works really well with what we know of her. As because she is someone who always goes in head first and who always is very reckless. But then we learn a bit more about her and we learn, oh damn, like she, even though she is that, she also is quite scared of basically everything, of losing her life, of losing herself, or losing people she loves. Um, and I think especially Mac, which is why I think it worked really well as well after coming out of season 6 when they weren't together anymore, and then we have them kind of reconciling their relationship because of that. When she's like, accepting more of what Mac had to do, and Mac being like, I shouldn't have like pushed you away just because I became director. So yeah, I don't know. I think it does quite a lot for her character. The main cast, I'd say she's probably like the least developed one.
Yeah.
But she's still really good. Um, episode 50 won't match with the second anniversary. Indeed, it won't. But it's fine. Are those all the main characters? Is there one? Deke. Oh, which was the best Deke season? Uh,
7.
oh, interesting. I'd say 5, but all right.
I would say 7. 5. Well, it's hard because I think 7 because he really shows his, especially how he supports Mac,
Mm-hmm.
and it kind of builds up, and then he earns his place as a director of Shield. Plus the scene, the Breakfast Club reference.
Yes.
That in itself is worthy. I don't know. I do think 7,
Right. Yeah, no, I think
but
5 does a lot to establish his character, and have him doing like all these heroic things and like still being very reluctant because he's become his dad. He always resented his dad because he thought his dad was like fighting for a losing cause, but he's just kind of like he realized that his dad was actually a really good guy, and I think that does a lot. And then learning about Fitz and Simmons being his grandparents, and going from that into him being mad at Fitz about what the person he's becoming. I don't know, I quite like that. I also think he's really good in season 6. There's that moment where he uses the fucking teleportation pack. I think that's one of the
yeah.
best scenes he has in the show. I
I also
don't know, I really like Deke. Very
I
underrated
also
character.
love him in season 7 and how he supports Gemma, and he actually acts as the anchor for her in finding Fitz.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah,
And
in the end of the show, as I was watching it with Tin, in the finale, when she's lost her memory, the way he takes care of her as well as just the fact he's supporting her in what she's trying to say. Like he's the one who's giving her this I guess emotional support, um and being the one to like ground her and help her get to solve the puzzle of the ring, and the union, which is how they solve the time travel, which is a great scene on its own.
then you got him accepting Daisy and Sousa.
As well, staying behind, which is great. And then them asking like, "Oh, you the new guy in charge?" Yeah, it's great. I love Deke.
Yeah, boy.
I guess yeah,
The only
that's the main cast. I guess there's like Bobby and Hunter, but they're like only like 2 seasons. So
and I guess you have Ward, but
yeah, I guess well, he's until season 3, so I guess there would be like a choice. Um, hmm,
um,
I
I
guess
would go with
3. I don't know. It's hard.
yeah.
I think 3 because of like how personal it gets between him and Coulson.
I think in 3, the amount of shit he does and how it's all it's not like a typical villain. Oh, I want world domination or anything. It's
He
get
doesn't know what he
closure.
wants, basically. Yeah, he has a hard time finding
Yeah,
out what he wants to do, and then Malik gives him what he wants, basically. But it obviously turns on its head because he becomes Hive.
yeah. I really like. I think Ward's at his best at, and how he like is able to torment every single member.
Kind of in their own, in its own ways. Yeah, I do feel like season 2 he does it quite well as well, especially when he's
Yeah,
interrogated by Daisy. Those scenes are some of the best scenes he has. And then obviously
season
the scene in
3.
season 2 where he after he escapes and he kills his brother.
Season 3 when he's torturing Fitzsimmons.
Oh yeah, he's torturing Gemma, and Fitz is just sitting in the other room, and that's kind of the torture for Fitz, because like how can Fitz endure Gemma being hurt, which is I think is really great way of getting something out of him, out of Fitz.
I mean, obviously, it makes sense that Coulson is the one to put him down.
Yeah, because it's the most personal due to him killing Rosalind.
And technically, through Hive, you still get more Grant Ward. You get like,
A bit.
um,
There are moments where he says that he does remember Ward and his relationship with Daisy and everything.
yeah,
There's a moment where he says, "Oh, he calls you Sky in his head or something like that." I think I remember that. The moment where they're standing like on that cliff edge.
Grant Ward's a very interesting character.
Grant Ward is a fantastic character.
He goes off the edge after losing Kara.
Yeah, I guess that's it. We did it. We talked about Agents of Shield. We finally did it. After 47 episodes, 10 finished the show. I'm so
Wait, would Enoch count? If Ward counts, Enoch counts.
I would he
He
well,
was
it's
the
kind of
full
obvious.
season.
Yeah, I guess, but it's obvious. It's season 7, isn't it?
Yeah,
Like he has the one episode where he sacrifices himself to save the team, and the name of the episode is the line he said, "As I have always been." So, yeah, it's season 7. As well as him being the one who scattered around the objects that are used to build the teleporter at the end, which I think is a really good payoff. I do feel like in season 6 he does get a lot of character once he gets decommissioned, because it's like he needs to find new purpose, and his new purpose is to he's Fitz's friend, and he remains a very good friend to Fitz throughout the rest of the show, even if he's a bit oblivious. Just to
yeah. God bless Enoch.
Enoch's great.
Yeah.
I guess that's it.
Yeah, we did it. It's a shield. Wow. Yeah. I don't know. So much more to say. The soundtrack's phenomenal. Bear McCreary's great. Daisy's theme
Yeah.
is the best. I am.
Indeed.
What's the best theme for me? Ghost Rider's theme's up there.
Gravitons is one of the best as well.
Yeah. The overtures, obviously.
Oh yeah.
That's God tier.
I do really love as well the soundtrack in the future. I think it fits the tone really well, and Cassius' theme is just really menacing. I love it.
Hydra's theme's really good.
Oh, Hydra's theme. Yeah, that's my favorite actually.
It's one of those soundtracks that are not like exceptional, but it's also it's good enough
I don't
to
know.
deliver what it needs to.
I'd say it's really great. I feel like it's a really good soundtrack. I think it's just a shame that it didn't get released beyond season 1.
Yeah.
Especially because my favorite themes are from later seasons, like Quake's theme and Hydra's theme, the Sarge Blues, all that.
What would we say is the worst ever character to appear in Agents of Shield? It's a tough question, I think.
Mhm.
I mean, as in like they have it better be someone who has like a main role, I guess, right?
Yeah, so like they could be a villain either for an episode or
Hmm.
something like that.
Interesting. I guess it'd be some of the like one-off villains from the beginning stages of the show, season one.
Yeah,
So I'm
definitely
thinking
not the
there's
guy who went after Coulson's ex. Might be him.
yeah,
He was good.
there's Cold dude, and he shows up in season 2 again as well. He's really good. You know, the 13 Reasons Why dude.
Yeah,
Um,
Quinn is good.
yeah.
Hall is good.
Episode 1 is Mike. Yeah, no, Mike is great. Mike
Yeah, you
Peterson's great.
can't.
Hmm.
Lorelei's good.
And she does do quite a lot for May and Sif as characters. It's hard. I hadn't thought of that. But the worst. Um. Agent Sitwell is the worst.
Um, it's. I
Second
guess.
episode has that military lady who betrays Coulson. Who they had a
Yeah, I guess her.
yeah. Because then
Yeah.
episode 4 is Amador, which she's great because she's a Coulson's like ex, like mentoree, trainee. That's the word. Episode 5 is fucking Raina. Raina's great. Yeah, this is hard to say. Yeah, I guess it'd be.
I'd go for her because she's also the least connected to character arcs. Like she's connected to Coulson, but she doesn't do much development.
Yeah, because that episode is more about the rest of the team coming together to solve the issue while Coulson is trapped. It's
And
kind of
it
the point.
sets up the 084
Yeah.
twist.
Yeah. Um.
So yeah, I'll go with her.
Yeah, she's probably the worst because I'm going by here. I'm like, there's the episode with the ghosts, but that episode's great. And then again, it's Reina and the bald guy. I forgot his name.
Michael Hall. I think. If
No,
I'm about to say person, Gravitonium.
Edison Poe. The guy who works for the clairvoyant.
Oh, I remember.
Oh
him,
yeah, that
No,
guy.
yeah, the
Yeah,
bald guy for the Gravitonium is episode 3. Yeah, which is Franklin
yeah.
Hall. Yeah.
I keep calling him Michael. I don't know why. Um. Yeah, I kind of have to go episode 2 villain was because you don't really remember her either. No one cares about her.
Yeah, she never comes back. It's just kind of it. She's one and done. So yeah, that's it then. We did it. We have talked about it.
And she's not even like bad. She just exists.
Yeah, she's functional for the story. It's just yeah.
It says a lot about how good the characters are in this show that the worst one is one that's still functional, and it took a while to even figure out who would say is the worst.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's interesting because I obviously jumped to season 1 because the first episodes are very disconnected, I guess, in the sense that they are just like villain of the week kind of thing, and then it gets more serialized as the season goes on. There's just something they did mention in the audio commentary, which I found interesting, especially after tracks. It just becomes very one continuous story. And so the other seasons are very much just like this is all about one series arc, and so like even season 6, the people who work for Sarge, all of them, they get quite a bit of character, especially the big one. What's his name? Fuck, I like him. I forgot his name, but yeah, he gets quite a lot as well. Obviously, Snowflake, especially because she dies. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like the show does really well, a really good job of like developing these characters, especially by having them more than one episode and just like not having them feel like they're not people, like they have their own very distinct personalities. So I don't know. Good show.
What else was I gonna ask? I can't remember.
You suck. It's
There's no point asking
the
who's the best one-off villain. I don't think there's any point in asking that.
just saw the episode you wanted to mention was it's called Self Control. The
Oh, that's it.
yeah, episode 15. And then the next episode is What If, because you know the show does What If better than What If.
Yeah, it actually does.
Yeah.
The framework is what if.
Yeah. And then yeah, it's kind of, you could count like both does What If and WandaVision better than WandaVision and What If, which is funny. But one-off villain, you said.
Yeah, one-off. Who is the best?
You don't have that many one-off because of how the structure goes after season 1. I guess Mike. Oh, because he's only a villain in one episode, even though he does come back later. I don't know if that'll count.
I'll allow it because it'll make it easier.
Yeah. So yeah, it's Mike.
Yeah.
Mike Peterson. Deathlock.
Good old Deathlock.
It was really fun watching the commentary for Tracks, because at the end of that episode is when we get the reveal that he's Deathlock. And Mike Peterson's actor is like a huge Marvel Comics fan. And so it was like, he was so excited seeing that. It's like, oh my god, for the comics fans, is gonna love this. It was great.
Man, when he... What episode is it that he returns and it's like a huge thing that Coulson did?
Uh,
And it was really cool and epic.
when he returns.
Yeah, to help out Coulson.
I don't remember. Hold on. Mike Peterson.
Because Coulson was having enough of the shit going on. I think it was in season 2, to be
I
honest.
think so, because I think it was the
It was to get, like, the stuff
good stuff. That's very specific. Thank you.
in relation to the Theta Protocol. It was just before that.
Yeah, exactly. I think it's in relation to. He
I like how
shows
Coulson...
up season 2, episode 16. That
Yeah.
episode is Afterlife.
I also like how Coulson, because of Tripp's death, he just took out all the major heads of Hydra.
Mhm.
I was like, yo, you pissed him off.
Trip is also a really good character that we just did not mention at all, but I really like him.
Yeah, Tripp is excellent for the small time he gets, and when he returned in season 4, it was like, yes!
Yeah, very good.
Lincoln's a very good character that appears across season 3. Same for
2 and
Gordon
3, but yeah.
for 2.
The what I really like about Trip is how it's like, it makes perfect sense. Obviously, even in this world, he would still be working for Shield because of his grandpa. He's not just here for like, oh, it's a cool cameo, but you know, why would he choose to be for Shield? No, it's because of his grandpa, which has been established since like the first time we met him. Well, not the first time, but you know, in season 1, which is cool.
I always wish we got to see Ward in some form in season 7.
I
always wish that.
I think it would be very hard to do it, especially because of how they changed time and Garrett, you know, was working for Malik, and because they end the plot way before they get to the present, right? It'd have to be like once they got to like 2013. By that point, they had already destroyed Shield because they did Project Insight. So
I would have had an idea. So they obviously did a nod, but I would have had it so when Deeks formed a new Shield, he's keeping tabs on Ward when he's ready to recruit and to guide him under a good light. But you then need to do a setup that Deke knows about Ward. So,
Mhm.
but that would have been nice.
Yeah, that could have been neat if I don't know, because it'd be so early by that point, right? Because Victoria Hand was super young.
Because otherwise, Ward ends up, or in theory ends up, with his dysfunctional household.
Yeah, I guess he would still be in prison and he would never escape unless Deke went to him. Because
Exactly.
Garrett wouldn't exist in this universe anymore.
Interesting one.
Yeah, I don't know. It is interesting. But yeah, I think that's all for today,
Social
folks.
interaction.
We talked about Agents of Shield, so I can finally get that off the checklist of things I wanted to talk about on ECUM ever since it started, but not being able to because Tin hasn't watched. Because that list is quite long because Tin hasn't watched anything. Like Breaking Bad is one that I think it would be neat to talk about, but Tin's the only one who hasn't watched. Yeah, such is life. But yeah, next ECUM will be about how 9/11 was an inside job. All right. So yeah, thanks everyone. I don't know. I couldn't think of anything. Because
It'll
there's
be about how Christian will cause 9/11.
uh, mm, I don't know how that'd be an inside job. Did Chris Shib know in
It's
2001 was
it's
he
because
part
it
of the
was an
American
inner
government?
conflict, and he had to
Okay,
bring the
that's what I
planes in.
call an inner conflict. That's a
How
good
did
point.
how the Jewies cause 9/11?
Okay, so let us end this stream.
Well,
Yeah. I know this stream doesn't get nearly as many views as you usually do. I know it's not very popular, but I do quite like the show, and I hope it was interesting to hear us talk about it. If you did, because it is a really good show. So yeah. Goodbye. Yeah. Go watch the last night's ecom reaction with Madvocate to Flash. That's my parting words.